Good evening, everybody. Welcome to This Week Unloaded. This week we have with us the Crazy Scotsman. How are you tonight, Scotsman?
I'm good. Thank you for the link. Sorry I had to make a trip to the refrigerator, but I'm back. Always good to be here. Appreciate it. Good to see everyone out there.
Yeah, not a problem. Next to him we have the Gun Snob. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Thanks for the link.
You find any more Black Friday deals? I know you were looking for them earlier.
No, I've been messing around eating and then editing videos, so I haven't done nothing else online.
Right. And then we have the Kingpin, David Bulling. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I always appreciate it.
So, has anybody seen anything interesting this week? Or do we just want to jump into our news segment?
I say let's go with the news.
All right. Well, there was something me and Scotsman were talking about. I saw on Instagram. I think I closed my Instagram though. Let me pull up Instagram real quick here. Give me a couple of minutes. Or well, it's not gonna take that long, but yeah. Let me find that again. Because this cracked me up. It's CNN, so it's really to be expected, but it's complete and total ridiculousness.
That's CNN in a nutshell.
Yep. Because at this point, I don't think it's going to matter what the Trump administration does. CNN is going to bitch, right? Because you guys see what I'm looking at, right? The three headlines here. Everyone should have a shot at paid family leave. Look at the date. Then a little over a month later, Trump's budget to include paid family leave. That's what CNN wanted, right? On April 4th of last year, that's what CNN said they wanted. 8 days after the story about the Trump budget comes out, how paid family leave hurts women. You can't make this shit up. You really cannot make this shit up. There is no pleasing the liberal media. None. Give them what they want, they still complain.
Well, that means they didn't really want it in the first place.
Oh, they just want something to bitch about.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, that and they want to threaten gun owners with nukes. I mean,
Oh yeah, that whole.
I've been posting that on social media. You saw that shit, right?
Yeah, 2 congressmen. It's not just one now. 2 of them have come out and said that they'll do that kind of shit. It's like, what the hell?
Okay, people, you seriously need to stop voting for idiots like this that want to use nuclear weapons on citizens that refuse to give up their constitutional rights. I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable behavior. That's what ensures the world goes to shit. People like that.
Yeah, that and idiots voting for that moron in New York who can't even put together a sentence without saying like 50 times.
I used to have a problem with that.
I think we need to introduce a new version of the red flag law, and it should be for politicians. When they say stupid shit like this, we can kick them out in an instant, report them, and have them arrested and put in a mental institution.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing you should do. There's one more thing you should do. Night strike?
Give him the bird.
That's right.
Yeah. And when you have somebody who's running for office in New York, and they say, "What's the problem? You just pay for it." Don't vote for that idiot. Good Lord, they have absolutely no idea how a budget works. And if we just print more money, we can give everybody $1 million and then nobody will be poor anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. Because if it worked like that, Night Strike would have his full auto M16 and Tommy gun, and he'd be happy.
And then
And he'd have an M14 because he'd have enough money to buy all those things and he wouldn't have to worry about it. But it didn't work like that.
yeah, well, that idiot also thinks that Congress are the ones that sign laws into effect. I mean, did you hear
a bill has to come either from the House or the Senate and then get signed by either the House and Senate and, then by the House and Senate. And then it has to go to the president because, it either has to come from the House to the Senate. They both have to be signed by both the Congress and the representatives, and then it goes to the president. Okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it comes from the Senate or comes from the House. It has to be voted on by both parts of the government, and then it goes to the president, and the president says yes or no.
Right. I mean, Crazy Eyes is out there saying, we're going to sign health care. We're going to sign this, that. You ain't going to sign shit. That's not your job.
Well, they missed the Schoolhouse Rock video on how that works. So,
well, apparently, she also missed the fact that she doesn't get an apartment just because she was elected to Congress either.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Okay, Gun Snob has more Native American than Voxahanas.
All of us on the panel, Scotsman probably does.
That's funny.
It's probably true, though.
It probably is. I'm sorry. I had to go there. It was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Don't ever apologize for being right.
You know what? I'm not even going to question it.
Oh, did you see where the idiot in Georgia admits that she lost and now she's going to sue to have the whole election thrown out and start over again?
No, that's not how it works, kid.
Yeah, that's not how it works. But
if you lose, it's fucking over. You lost. You get one recount. You got to pay for it.
She seriously said that she wants to sue to have the governor's election in Georgia thrown out and do it all over again. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no.
Remember the media storm when Trump said he'd let Chris Wallace know if he accept the outcome of the presidential election? And then, ever since then, every time a Democrat loses, it's a federal case.
It's been before that. Go back to 2000. Gore versus Bush.
All I have to say is, when are Democrats going to stop being such sore losers?
And when is Broward County going to learn how to count an election?
Never on both of those.
We're 18 years removed from Gore v. Bush, and they still can't get their heads out of their asses enough to learn how to count votes.
But the problem is they didn't get their participation award.
They counted the votes, but the votes weren't in their favor, so they obviously have to count them again.
In reality, what they need to do is become better cheaters. Because it's not like they're not going to cheat. They just need to get better at it because they're really bad at cheating.
Don't give them any ideas.
They're already cheating.
The only thing you should give them is what, Gary?
The bird.
Yeah, right. They've already had enough practice at cheating, and they still can't get it right. Don't tell them they need more practice.
See, even I can cheat better than the Democrats.
Yeah, I think that's why they're trying to push this Trump collusion thing so much, is because they know damn well that they would have cheated. So everybody else must be cheating too.
They already have cheated.
That was what I was saying.
And they still lost.
Yeah. I mean, we cheat, so everybody else must be cheating. So yeah, how did Trump cheat? Russians. It was the Russians. We'll run with that. Everybody will believe us because we cheat. They know we cheat. We just get away with it.
So the Broward County elections were meddled by the Russians. So we need to get rid of all the Democrats and put Republicans in. I like this idea.
Yes, the Broward County was the Russians' fault.
How about it? And since it's Florida, why don't we just get a bunch of swamp alligators to run for office?
Look at all the things that go wrong in Broward County, though. Good
The
Lord.
alligators are bipartisan. If you get near their mouth, they'll bite you.
Yeah, but
I mean,
look back to earlier this year. Parkland, Florida is in Broward County.
You know what else is in Broward County? We don't talk about him often enough.
Tech Daddy?
Yeah, everyone's favorite YouTuber and online personality, Kevin the Tack Daddy.
And in the
And yes, I said that with air quotes.
Yeah, in 2016, the idiot that was trying to pull this crap in Broward County this year, their person who's in charge to make sure the votes are all counted and everything, was cited by both Florida and the Federal Elections Committee for tampering with the votes. She had destroyed ballots illegally back then. And this woman still has her job. And by the way, this woman is a Jeb Bush appointee.
And if she's abusing her authority and destroying votes, then what's to say she's not doing it in a recount?
Oh, no, she's not destroying votes this time. She's creating votes. When you're pulling in all these absentee ballots and they're all Democrat, that goes against the laws of statistics.
well,
Statistically, that should not be happening.
they're also counting. I forget the term that they've been using. I think it's the over/under vote. You know, where they didn't vote for the governor, but they voted for this party down the rest of the ticket, or they didn't vote for the mayor or whatever. So they're just saying, well, since they voted this way, we're going to say they voted for this person. So, like, they are making up votes.
Yeah.
And then the idiot who was running for governor, who's the mayor of Tallahassee, I think he finally conceded, but he wanted them to count the votes that are cast by illegal aliens. Jesus Christ, you're in Florida, not California.
Yeah, but see, they're good at it because if you listen to what they say, they repeat it over and over again. Count every vote, insinuating that the Republicans don't want to count every vote. Well, yeah, of course we don't want to count every vote because if there's no little check mark beside the name, that's not a vote.
We want to count every legitimate legal vote. There's a big difference.
There you go with your legal again. That's making me feel offended.
Now, how dare you want to obey the law?
How dare you misappropriate my votes?
How dare you have feelings, David?
Yeah, how dare you, David?
And my feelings don't care about your facts.
Yeah.
So make sure everybody appeases me.
Well, I hate to tell you, but your feelings mean shit when these facts run at you and hit you like a freight train.
I'm waiting.
What is facts? Who worries about facts?
The facts don't lie.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see how long it takes some abortion group to take the state of West Virginia to court, because we had our first ballot initiative ever put on our ballots here, and it was to defund abortion clinics where they're not going to get government funding, and it passed.
Good.
Overwhelmingly. I mean, it wasn't even close to failing.
That was a Russian collusion, man.
That Russian collusion. Let me tell you.
Well, that's a good opportunity to show how capitalism works. If abortion is so important to everybody, now that the government's not funding it, they can take money out of their own pocket and fund it.
Yeah, the best one is when you get remember that ad campaign, Planned Parenthood was doing, how important is Planned Parenthood to each state? They put one out for West Virginia. There's all of one Planned Parenthood clinic in the entire state. One.
There's a sign on the inside of an abortion clinic in Baltimore City, in big bold letters like banner type of writing, that says "Every child a wanted child."
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah, I can't get over that. That's just disgusting.
Yeah, well, again, like I said last week, I look at their way of thinking. Of course, every child that's born is a wanted child. The ones that weren't wanted got aborted.
Or you could look at it like a wanted poster from back in the old West.
So disgusted.
Yes.
It's just no bueno.
Patriot, if you're able, if you're not wrapped up in your having to take care of your child this week, you do have a link. And Rupan, you should have one as well. So if you two want to jump in, you can.
Patriot, I hope you didn't end the Y on the end of that intentionally, because that's just mean.
You know darn well he did.
What night, Strikey? What'd you say? I missed that.
I am not amused.
Well, the good news is the rest of us are easily amused, so that's cool.
Easily.
Yep.
Yep.
Almost too easily.
Alrighty. Rupan, you have joined us. How are you tonight, sir?
Hey, good evening.
So do we want to get into our new segment now? And I'll probably have to explain it because some of you probably don't know what this is. Last week, David Bowling threw down the gauntlet. He said he could come up with a question every week for us to answer that will be gun related. I'm like, okay. So now we are going to have a new segment where we put that to the test. It's called Kingpin Asks. So, David, do you have your notes?
I do have my notes. All right. Well, I'll ask two of them real quick. One of them you guys have probably talked about ad nauseum, and then the other one, so you can pick whichever one you want to talk about. The first one is, what is it exactly that Springfield Armory did, or the other company said Rock River Arms, that got so everybody so pissed off? Like, I don't know pretty much anything about the story. I just know.
I can answer this one if nobody else wants to take a crack at it first.
They infringed.
Well, I wasn't gonna say. I was gonna say tell the truth. They were part of this alliance, which was, as they say, supposedly supposed to help gun laws in Illinois, and the person running it ended up, I guess, greasing enough politicians' palms to basically exclude those two companies from gun regulations. Whereas they also, and they helped author this law, and this law was going to go and make it that a civilian, a regular citizen, could only sell 7. They could only do 7 transfers a year?
I thought it was 5, but this was in Illinois, by the way.
Yeah, this was in Illinois, and they could only do 7 transfers a year. Doesn't matter whether it was buying or selling. Doesn't matter. Only 7. And basically, it basically screwed over every mom and pop shop and gun store that wasn't Rock River Arms or Springfield Armory.
Okay, did anybody else want to say anything about that, or is that pretty much cover it in a nutshell?
Yeah, but they also lied and said that, this wasn't us, this was a lobbying group. But if you look at the address for the lobbying group, both Springfield Armory and Rock River Arms had used that address. And the guy who was in charge of the lobbying group was one of the head executives at Springfield.
Yeah.
But weren't all those people, didn't they resign or get fired after that? The
guy in charge of Springfield Armory is still fucking there.
I thought 2 of them left.
As far as I know, they're still there.
I'm gonna say something unpopular on this. And yes, I ain't buying a Springfield, and that's not because of this. That's just because I really don't like the Springfield XDs or anything. So, but while I get this, there's kind of a point where we can't just continue hating on gun companies. That's like hating on the NRA. I get so sick of everybody saying, "Oh, the NRA." Yeah, I don't disagree at all with the NRA does crap, stupid crap. But right now, we've got to come together and not hate on, somebody else in our industry. They know what they did was wrong now, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I'm still not buying a Springfield, but I'm still.
This was literally this Springfield Armory and Rock River Arms throwing everybody else in Illinois under the bus.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I'm not saying that.
An exclusion for themselves by supporting this bill that.
But everybody seems to forget what Ruger and Smith & Wesson did.
Well, that was under different leadership, too. Those companies aren't under the leadership that did that anymore.
These companies that we're talking about are still led by the same people. The guy at the top of both companies didn't resign. They made videos of them crying or apologizing, but that was it. I'm sorry, but you're crying and apologizing because you got caught doing something wrong doesn't mean we forgive you.
And Springfield and Ruger didn't lie about. I mean, not Springfield. Smith and Wesson and Ruger didn't lie to everybody's faces about what they did.
Smith and Wesson kind of shady, but Ruger did not know.
Smith and Wesson is Smith and Wesson.
I mean, Springfield and Rock River Arms flat out lied to everybody.
Yeah, and the same guys are still running both companies. So, yeah, we can't hold the grudge.
I mean, it's everybody for their own, and I don't disagree, but I just get so tired of everybody being so divided in this community. It's ridiculous. There comes a point where we have to somewhat stand together to an extent. And
Black Cat also made
I don't want to see any company, American company right now go out of business that's making guns.
Black Cat says Bill Ruger is dead, and Smith & Wesson has been sold 3 times. Yeah. So, we don't harp on Smith & Wesson as much because they keep changing hands.
Yeah, and Springfield's biggest seller right now isn't even something they make. It's just something they import.
Yeah. What you making, Rupin?
A pulse sensor lock system.
Oh my!
Headers on this thing here.
What did he say?
It's a pulse system. It'll lock your rifle with a pulse sensor, and it also uses an accelerometer that'll detect a drop in the rifle. It's supposed to be, it's like the anti-liberator, if you will. Like someone can't make a zip gun and shoot a guy at a nuclear power plant with a zip gun, and then pick up his machine gun and start gunning everybody down.
Why would you want one of those things in the first place?
I need a final project, and no patents exist on this product.
Okay, we'll file a patent, and yeah, you're good.
Yeah. So I gotta have a working prototype, though. It's my final project. So.
Looks like a bomb to me.
Well, Calaveras out there in the chat asks building a clock like that one kid did.
Oh, yeah.
No, not building a clock. His clock probably looked a lot more sinister than this, though.
Yeah, that clock was a bit more intimidating than that.
It's kind of cool. This is a little TFT screen. It's a micro OLED.
You keep coming in and out, Jared.
This is a micro OLED. So it's going to display on the stock. It'll display the heartbeat on this. And the pulse sensor will be like in the grip or something stupid. And this will be on the stock somewhere, so you can unlock it. Yeah.
Are you trying to help the gun control people?
Yeah, really.
This is government only, guys. This is not supposed to be for gun control people.
You know they're going to try and use it.
Yeah.
Well, they can pay me lots of money. And then I can use all that money to lobby against them.
They'll claim eminent domain.
Then you need to charge them like trillions of dollars.
You bet.
Yeah, watch. They'll just illegally claim eminent domain on it and screw you over anyway.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? These things are really easy to defeat. So, joke's going to be on them.
Yeah, what's it called? An EMP?
No, it's called burps. That's the The acronym I decided on it. I forget. I already forget what the acronym stands for. But burps.
Or, you could just use something else called water.
Water. Oh! You mean to knock these out?
Yeah.
Oh, it's only gonna be. It's gonna have either a servo or it's gonna have this solenoid stop like the safety selector. And I'm gonna 3D print it from the whole stock. Or something stupid. Like it's not. I mean, it's just a final project. It's a prototype for a final project. It's not.
Your microphone is awful. I'm getting half of the conversation.
It's just. I'll get my other headset. Give me a sec. But it's just a prototype.
Please do.
Either that or Rich, crank my volume all the way up. That usually fixes it. If you know how to do it. You know how to do it, Rich?
Not really.
All right, I'll get my other headset.
I've never had to do it. I don't know if I have the toolbox that lets you do that.
You just click on the little control room thing over there at the side, and then it comes up.
I don't have the control room thing.
He's on mobile.
Oh.
I'm not on mobile.
Yes, you
should have it.
I thought that control room thing was a download you had to get. Well,
You know where you screen share at?
Yeah.
Right below it, there's a little lever and some dots.
No, they're not. I got the screen share thing, and then I got the cameraman thing.
Okay.
Okay, that's different than mine.
How do I sound now?
You sound much better.
All right.
Better.
Yeah, it's just a final project, and it's a silly prototype, so I wouldn't expect... If I can cook this up with almost no knowledge and, cobble the program together, they have some idiot who can do much better than me. So
I've got another way to fix it. Or break it.
Hit it with a hammer, so I fix.
No, you don't hit it with a hammer. It's called the drill. You can defeat it with the drill.
you could always just smash the stock against the ground, and you'd probably break everything. So
probably.
Yeah.
But I needed a smart prototype. I was going to do automotive, but there's no patents on this stuff at all. And I was like, this would be an easy good grade for a final project. So
they might not believe you or agree with you because it involves guns, and you know how colleges are and other places are about guns.
Yeah, he gave me the green light, but if he ends up turning me down, then this will just become a pulse lock for something else. I'll think of something that can use a pulse lock. What else can use a pulse lock? What do you guys think? Anything? Anybody in the comments?
Car door?
Stealer's trunk?
Do you have one of those like little gun trays on the bottom of one of your nightstands or anything like that? Or
Yeah,
hidden wall mounts or whatever?
No, I don't. But I mean, the problem is it would have to, I guess, know your pulse. You'd have to unlock it manually. So you're talking about maybe like something Bluetooth that you could strap on yourself. So at night, you could easily just open it. I mean,
the one problem I would see with a pulse lock is under a stressful situation, your pulse is going to quicken.
Yeah,
so if it's not your pulse while you're calm and at rest, and then you're in a situation where you got somebody breaking in your front door, your pulse is going to be quickened, so it might not recognize your own pulse, and you'd be locked out of your own.
Well, that's where I haven't really cared, and that's where it's going to be a silly prototype. It doesn't actually have to work, but I'm pretty sure I can get this to lock, or at least be there and show a pulse. I can get this to unlock the keypad, and I can definitely use this to lock the gun when a drop is detected. So, I mean, this might do nothing. Like I said, as long as it's like my thesis for my whole college thing. So, does that make sense? Like, it's gotta, even if it doesn't work, I have to have all my bases covered.
as far as the drop thing, you're probably going to need some sort of gyroscope or something.
Oh, that's what I got. This the accelerometer. It's got there's sensors here for the X, Y, and the Z, and then the positive and negatives up here.
All right.
What are you going to college for, Rupan?
Mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Engineer.
Yeah, I actually had a couple good friends in college that were mechanicals.
Yep.
Is that an Arduino board?
It's the SparkFun version of it. It's like a.
Okay.
They make their own. Yeah, it is. Pretty much it is. I don't understand why, but they had to put their own name on it.
Yeah, you saw that Raspberry Pi project I did the other day, a while back, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I couldn't get a hold of an NES Mini, so I just made my own. And then, watch, 4 months down the road, hey, they're selling in my local Walmart, so I'm like, well, fuck it, I'll just pick one up.
Nice.
Even after I did that project, it's just like, well, I've got 2 things now. Because I can play more than NES on that one that I built, so.
Yeah, that's cool. Did we finish answering David's question completely?
I think we answered his question on the Springfield thing. He said he had another one.
Oh yeah, I can keep it going if you guys want me to ask another round of questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, kind of going with the Springfield thing. This popped into my head. At least in Maryland, when you apply to get your FFL license, they want you to actually be a store or have intentions of selling these weapons, not just making it so you can buy them yourself. Is that pretty much standard all over the country for your FFL?
That I'm in the process of applying for one. I think Scotsman is too. That is a federal thing. You have to be in the business to make money off firearms. You don't have to be selling guns. You can be. I'm doing it for the Cerakoting thing. So as far as just working on guns, but you're profiting off guns, is what it is. It has to be for profit.
Yeah, that's the same way it reads over here. So.
Yeah, it's a federal thing, just like you said, and you're in the business to make money.
Right,
Okay.
and you don't necessarily have to have a storefront. So I know people that have an FFL. All they do is transfers. Like if somebody orders something online, they have it shipped to them, and they do the transfer. They charge the transfer fee and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you can have one out of your home as long as you can get approved for it where you live. Some states have regulations on that, counties, cities, stuff like that. Yes, Night Strike. I was thinking about changing it to the High Point Snob. That's a good point.
Good.
And Sarge,
Yeah, if you're gonna be the High Point Snob, maybe a Scotsman needs to be the Glock Snob.
Ooh.
Yes, but I actually own a High Point now. I don't think Scotsman owns a Glock yet.
He does. Don't let him fool you.
I do not own a single Glock. I will never own a Glock.
Never?
Shame on anyone who ever brings that up again.
Why? Why are you categorically denied to it?
I've already explained this many times. The thing about Glock is they don't make a bad gun; they make bad decisions. Glock does not listen to their customers. I cannot support a company that does not listen to their customers.
And that's why they can't sell the son of the bitches anywhere.
Hey, Scotsman, do you need some Glock balls? I have a pair of them.
No, I have bigger balls. They're called CD.
And the only reason why I bring that up, Scotsman, is because I know it pushes your buttons.
Yeah, I know you do.
You know, Scotsman is more likely to buy a polymer CZ than he would a Glock.
All right, Scotsman, I have a serious question. Would you consider a polymer 80?
Is it technically a Glock if all the other parts
You
weren't?
can build it with no Glock parts whatsoever.
Technically, that's true. However, I'm pretty sure.
He's like,
However, I'm pretty sure Hold on, let me finish, damn it. I'm pretty sure the grip angle's still the same, and
Yes.
I don't like the grip angle.
I don't either.
I don't either.
The grip angle's different. It's not the same grip angle.
What I do is I look down the sights.
I've only handled like 2 Glocks, and I'll have to say, I wasn't impressed with either one of the ones I've handled, so I can kind of understand that, Scotsman.
I got a response on our FFL deal to Black Cat. That is actually not true. And the ATF agent I talked to, that I physically talked to on the phone at our local Oklahoma City field office, said, no, that's absolutely not true. That's something that kind of got pushed around and never did get implemented. And they said, no, there's no issues with that anywhere as far as, federal law of you being able to have an FFL out of your home without a storefront.
Did he tell you? I think you can have a storefront or you can have it out of your house. And if you did, but you can't, like, say, go meet someone and sell it. You have to do it. You can't
only do gun show. Basically, you can't basically only do gun show sales. You have to have some sort of room dedicated to it. But you can do it
but you couldn't say, well, let me meet you here and I'll deliver this gun to you. No.
No, the only
you
place
could do it inside the gun show or inside your designated, like at your house, your kitchen table.
Yeah. And you have to have it at an address. You can't have it just just for gun shows. You have to be able to do it at your house also.
Yes.
Because they have to have somewhere to come and, inspect you and all that stuff.
Yes.
Oh.
There's actually, if you ever look up like the local FFLs in your area, like if you're going to do a transfer, there's, in most places, there's quite a few that do it at their houses. They just do it for friends and whatnot, and probably do decent at it.
Yeah, I've got to send off my paperwork. I keep putting it off. I've had it filled out forever and just keep saying I'm going to because, like I said, mine's just for the Cerakoting thing is what I'm
Are you still sworn anywhere?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, they say you could staple your business card to the top of your application and kind of speed it along, but that's what I've heard.
Well, the reason that I looked into getting the FFL is so I can just order rifles to my house or order firearms to my house. And everybody that I talk to, the couple of FFLs that I've talked to around here, and just write in the reading of the paperwork, it says, you have to be an established business. So they're not going to let me just be a collector and let me get an FFL.
No, you can't do that.
No, there's another way around that, though. You can have your CNR license.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
Curio and Relics license. It's a type of FFL, but it's for collectors only.
And the weapons have to be on a list for a certain
list.
Yeah, it's older weapons. Hold on just a second. I'll go grab my application.
And that's where you also verify with your state, because I know, like here in California, CNR license, you still have to, go through other FFLs to do a lot of different things because California doesn't honor most of the CNR stuff. So just make sure you do your research on that.
My state, they let me. I have my CNR, but I can't do ammo because they're afraid of my attorney general. So it sucks. Be ready for some stuff like that, David.
Well, you could file as a 7.
I can't actually. You have to have a storefront in my state.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I know some states have those state laws, but
Your state sucks.
Whenever I was talking to the ATF agent about the 7, he was telling me be real careful filing about the 7 because he said because if you say if you buy a gun, if I buy a gun that looks like crap and Cerakote it and sell it for a profit, that's technically manufacturing. So you'd have to have a 7 for that, even though it's just refinishing it. But the problem is
the laws were reinterpreted to basically force gunsmiths to register as 7s, even if you're only doing modifications.
Well, as long as you're doing it for somebody else, you don't have to worry about it.
Well,
it's just if you're doing it for profit, as in buying and selling, like flipping it.
Well, let's put it this way. I've also heard from the ATF is even though you're buying AR parts, okay, say you buy an AR and you buy it all from parts and you assemble it and you only have a retail FFL, you have to go and get a Type 7 FFL because the ATF defines that as manufacturing, even though you're only assembling.
Yes, that is true.
So be very careful about that.
What's the difference between Palmetto State Armory ordering thousands of lowers and thousands of part kits, and they put them together and sell them as a Palmetto State Armory gun?
Because they have
Is it not the same thing?
PSA is a Type 7.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. Yeah, so
the biggest problem with the Type 7 is you have to put your serial number and your information on there. I guess it's just your information, stamped into the gun. And then if you're not real careful, you can get stuck under ITAR with that, is what he was explaining to me.
You can get what? Stuck
under ITAR, which is a ridiculous amount of money, like $2,500 a year. It's I can't remember what it stands for. It's basically
international.
It's international transfer of arms kind of deal. I don't remember what it stands for.
Yeah, but it's specifically about import-export laws. When the fact is, you're selling to the local market. You're not exporting to another country. So what I don't get is why they go after people for ITAR when the guns aren't leaving the country.
It was something that was put in place under Obama's administration. I forgot. That ATF explained it all to the agent. Explained it all to me. He was super helpful and stuff whenever I was talking to him about it.
Right, Night Strike. But that's where you're not selling them to anyone outside the country. But it's hard to say where some of those parts are being manufactured and shipped into you as well.
Well, if they're all coming from sources like PSA and FN, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, so how does this?
I gotta go set up my own thing. But good to be here. Thanks for the link.
See you, Scotsman.
See ya. Scotsman.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, so on your homemade rifle, like you made everything or pistol or whatever you're gonna do. We'll stick with rifle because it's not as regulated. But your homemade rifle, you make it no serial number on it. Can you do a private sale? Like, could you sell it to your cousin or your next door neighbor?
Not if you made it yourself, and it's not.
Yeah, it's not
manufacturer.
serialized.
Even if it's serialized, you can get a serial number and serialize at 80%. But if you make it 80%, you cannot transfer it due to the fact that you're not a 07. Now, if I had an 07 and I made it 80%, put my information on it, I could sell it all day long.
You really did manufacture a firearm at that point when you make an 87 at 80% lower.
And now that manufacturing part is what separates me from. I go to the store, buy a rifle, shoot it a bunch of times, and then sell that rifle in a private sale to my cousin. Since I didn't manufacture the rifle, that is legal. But if I had built the gun myself, then I had
define built.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about from scratch. Like if
it's an 80%, if you bought a lower, if you bought a completed or a fully done lower.
And you buy it and you shoot it for a little bit and you sell it. That's not an issue, is it?
No, that's not an issue. If it's a lower you assembled, but if it's an 80% lower, or like my slide fire shotgun I've got somewhere around here, that thing literally I can't give it away. It literally is mine, or I have to destroy it because I'm not a manufacturer, and I can manufacture personal firearms, but I can't manufacture firearms and give them to somebody.
Now, can you transfer that to an actual FFL and have them put their credentials on it?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're not going to want my slide fire homemade shotgun, though.
Let's see it.
There's a form to fill out and get the serial if you wanted to. Hi, fellas.
Oh, hey, look, it's Patriot.
What's happening, brother?
Hey, Patriot. Snob, I thought most of those, I thought that slide fire and everything else ended up at the bottom of the local lake.
And yes,
well, not yet. I'm in Oklahoma, so I'm good for a while. I mean, I may have to take it fishing at some point, but right now I'm good.
You guys want me to go with
it? And even I have a 03 FFL.
So. The regular. If you got any more questions, David, let's see.
We should definitely be playing the James Bond theme music right now. Watching him put that thing together. All right, well, I'll go with the next question that I got is as far as defense rounds go. Like, I was looking through all the 357 that I've got, and I guess what you would call your target ammunition has got a lot higher of a grain weight than the critical defense rounds. And then I was looking through a couple magazines that I had today, and they were talking about these new defense rounds in 9mm coming out, and it was down to like 90 grain. Why did the defense rounds seem to have such a lower grain weight than your target rounds? Does that make sense?
Want me to give you my 2 cents?
Yeah, I mean anybody.
Because I think companies think, and they've tapped into a market. People need this mythical round that's going to outperform the other rounds by such an amazing amount, and it's the only thing that will stop the attacker. They try to sell you on something that's not necessarily relevant. You know what we carry? Well, excuse me. We still carry 40. We carry 165 grain 40 here. You know what the neighboring county and the largest city in our area carry? They carry 147 grain 9mm. So
I thought you said they were going to say they carried 22.
Well, they might, but 147 grain 9mm. So what do you need a 90 for? 90 grain if that's what they're carrying, and it works perfectly well. Does just fine. People think the manufacturers sell to some people that think they need this mythical round.
Well, another thing,
there's a lot that do well.
Some of those lighter grain weights are also, they're a little less recoil. Plus, they have lower powder amounts in them. But when they download them for the low recoil rounds, they usually use a lighter round too.
Mm-hmm. Now I could see maybe 115 in a small subcompact versus 147. That might help a little bit, but other than that, that's about it. That's just me.
I don't know what I carry. Hold on.
I have a 40, that I'm going to be getting my permit for, and that's where I was looking at the 165 or 180 grain. I've had a lot of people tell me, I should go to like a 135 because it gives a 9mm recoil with a really high velocity, which I guess it really depends on what you're looking for.
That, because 40 is so snappy, it's just a very, very snappy round. I'm not going to say that wouldn't be a bad idea to experiment with to see what's out there.
That's what I carry. I carry 135 grain Corbon made Blazer Powerball.
And think you're just carrying it'd be like a 9mm with a little bit more powder. It'd be like a 9mm Magnum. I know that's not a thing, but it's that grain bullet with a little bit more powder. It might be a neat combo.
Yeah, it's very similar ballistically to 357.6.
Oh, well, see, those things are rude.
357 SIGs are hot.
Yeah, boy, they're.
I've never fired the 357 SIG, but that's where people talk about the snappy 40s. Mine's a Smith & Wesson Shield, so it's one of the smaller frame 40s, and it's for a little bit of practice. And the quote unquote snappy gun seems to me like you can train it to get used to it, but that also is. I don't have a whole lot of experience with other handguns either, so I don't have a big field of difference.
I've always described 40 because I've been carrying it for 15 years now. It's violent but accurate.
I never had an issue with 40. I mean, that's what I carried when I was in law enforcement, and they were 180 grains what I carried then, 100 tab. But now I carry 115 grain critical.
But Sarge, one has to ask the question: if it's accurate, will it help Night Strike with his accuracy?
How far away and how big a target are we talking about? Are we talking like barn door or just traditional B-27
silhouette?
I think we were looking for ocean surface off the pier.
There. Okay. It will help then.
We always give you grief about your accuracy, Night Strike, but I'd actually like to have an opportunity to go to a range with you one of these days, and and see what you can really do when there's no cameras rolling and there's no stress
and no injuries.
Just make sure you stand behind him. I mean, that's the rumors I heard.
Yeah. Anyway, getting back to the question about the 135 grain.
You guys suck.
40. The Corbon advertises the round I carry at 1,350 feet per second and 525 or 526. I forget what. Anyway, one number is going to hurt.
Are you afraid you're going to get attacked by a bear?
Oh,
is that what it is?
Well, that's not even using a full powder charge. The full powder, the Underwood uses the same powder charge with their 135 grain as you would use with 180 grain, and theirs is advertised at, I believe it was 1,400 feet per second, and almost 600 foot-pounds at the muzzle.
That's a cannon.
Sarge, have you ever used any of the Liberty Civil Defense ammo?
Is that the really, really light stuff?
It's light grain, but the FPS is ridiculous.
I have not. I talked to a guy that was actually still somewhat working for the CIA. I talked to him, and that's what he carried was he carried a XD45, the single stack, like the small one, like 6 rounds, and it was something just crazy light. It had that Liberty Defense.
Yeah, it's like
crazy light.
Yeah, the Liberty Civil Defense 45 is 65 grains.
It was something ridiculous like that.
But it's 2,100 FPS.
Yeah, you said it was just absolutely just blistering out of the barrel.
No, I've done that out of 45. I'm thinking about getting some 40 and using that as my carry ammo.
I mean, like I said, I don't. Where do you? What does better, the mass hitting someone or the light one hitting them just really fast?
Well, I just don't want people to say I'm using a slow round, I guess.
Are those silver colored? That
Who cares?
Cartridge? Because
I think they are silver.
I used to have a Glock 30, and I got some weird, crazy carry ammo one time, and I shot it, and I was like blown away by it. It was just very weird ammo. Like it was supposed to be like a self-defense round, and it was like super light recoil, but it just was weird.
It says it's a nickel-plated brass.
That was probably it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's wrong with using a slow 45 round?
I don't know. I just kind of I just want to try something.
Nothing.
What was weird is I could the follow-up shots were crazy fast.
Oh, I bet so. Because the gun didn't move.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. The Liberty Civil Defense, they're fragmenting hollow points.
Yeah, that's what fragmenting hollow points seem like it'd be fine if you're hitting some, like a human torso. All they're wearing is, a sweat, a t-shirt, maybe, or a light overshirt. But if they're wearing heavy winter clothing, I'd be concerned about, what would happen.
Yeah, anything where you have to penetrate any kind of barrier or something.
Or glass, what if you're about to get ran down by someone, in a car?
Listen, if you need to penetrate something with your ammunition, you're probably in a war, or you're like Sarge, where you should be really using armor piercing.
Tell that to the people that have been run over by Islamic terrorists driving a van.
Step to the side.
Step to the side.
Dude, you're trying to stop them. You're still going to have to shoot through window glass.
When it's terrorists, it's not your job to stop them. It's your job to protect
yourself. Shoot them as they go by in the side glass. That's not safety glass.
Still don't want a fragmenting round to go if you're trying to shoot through a window.
Just the front window. It'll go right through the side.
Yeah, side won't matter.
Because after one, the other window's not there anymore.
Anyway.
Yeah, I've done that with my bare hands before by mistake.
But if you really go
the window up.
All right, getting back to the original. Federal also makes 135 grain in the HST line, and that's their. And they have this actually listed as being low recoil. Theirs is 1,200 feet per second and 488 foot-pounds at the muzzle.
Well, I'm sitting here looking.
And that's in what caliber?
40.
That's a heck of a round.
Well, I'm sitting here looking at my 38 special rounds, and I just grabbed a couple out of the box. This first box here is a Blazer ammunition, and it's 38 special, 158 grain. Then I've got the Hornady Critical Defense, the 110 grain FTX, and that's, like I said, 110 grain. So that's a lot of grain weight drop. And then the next one I have is the critical defense, the 90 grain. 158 and 90. That's a pretty big gap between those, and I don't know enough about ammunition to know what that means. You know what I
Well, if
mean?
you're
'Cause
talking 357 rounds, is that what you were talking?
these are the 38 special.
Okay. Well, either way, you're getting. I mean, you're not getting a mass out of them. Size wise, they're still a 9mm size bullet. I mean, basically, same exact thing. So you're getting, but the speed is up so much on some of those, especially when you're getting a hot self-defense round with a low grain weight bullet. There's a considerable amount of speed there, and speed does kill with. But the problem is, like 9mm and 40s, 45s, they're still not moving that fast. But a 357 will move pretty fast out of a 4-inch barrel. A lot faster than any semi-auto round will, really.
I like the 10mm.
It's only one more than a 9.
But really, if you go look at ammunition tests and stuff, there's not hardly any difference between, what a 9mm 115 grain does than what a 230 grain 45 does, damage wise. It's just not enough to matter in good ammunition.
We went out today to this place that we just started shooting at. Aside from our range, like we found a little private place we could go to, and we took 2 melons, like the melon that's got the green fruit inside of it, and a bag of apples. And we were shooting it with the 9mm first, and it really wasn't damaging the apple like you would imagine. This is probably about 10 yards away, I think we were. And you have a direct hit on an apple, and then you would imagine that it would explode everywhere. Not every time it did it. So it would do some pretty decent damage, but not what you would think. And even with we took the 45 out today too. And when you hit an apple with that, it does a little bit more damage than a 9mm, but it still wasn't blowing them completely apart.
So you did your own version of the Paul Harold meat target.
Well, we've been stuck at the range that we go to as a county-run range. So there's all kinds of restrictions on how you can fire and what you can fire. It's paper target only. No rapid fire, no draw and fire. So we just found this other secluded area that we can go to, and today we didn't have any other targets, so we bought some fruit and took it with us.
Yeah, and another thing you have to look at, not just the projectile weight, but the projectile type. Even if one company's hollow point isn't going to be the same as another company's hollow point, so you might get different results from one ammunition brand that you would get with another ammunition brand, which is one of the reasons why Paul Harold does his tests. He'll test the so-called higher performance stuff against things like Remington green and white box, hollow points and whatnot, just to see if there actually is any kind of difference, because you will get a difference between projectile types.
And that's where, we see, so many guys online doing these ballistics gel tests, which I don't know how many, I know there's a calibration process to get that correct. I don't know how many people do that calibration, but when you're comparing, he's doing those meat targets where he's shooting, the beef roasts and all this kind of stuff. It's to me, it seems like probably a pretty decent comparison, medium. So it's kind of interesting to see what the differences are. Like I've watched the ones where he's comparing different calibers or comparing different slug types, and it, definitely thought provoking.
And we also had to trek pretty far back into the woods to shoot today, so we were limited on what we were going to carry back there as far as targets go. So the fruit was relatively easy. We took a trash bag with us to clean up everything afterward. And just stick the fruit in that and carry it down.
One thing I will say about all that, whenever I shot that bulletproof vest, and I shot it with every round I could basically get my hands on, and the only thing that actually shot completely through it, pistol-wise, was the 9mm. It stopped the 45, stopped the 357 SIG, stopped 40, stopped 38s. I did not have any 357 rounds that day. and I should have got some before I did it, but I didn't have any. But I had some 38 plus Ps I shot it with, and it stopped them. So, and the 9mm actually shot clean through it, 115 grain 9mm.
Yeah, the 3-inch and the 2 3/4 inch shotgun shells and 12 gauge did pretty big damage to all the fruit that we had. That was a good time.
They go through a trailer wall too.
I love those videos. Absolutely.
Yeah, those were really cool, Sarge. You know what? I wish I had a trailer I could shoot up like that.
Well, there will be no more versions of it. I have one more that's filmed, but it is leveled. It is gone. So that was it. That was the 3 I got to test on it because it's been leveled.
I've got some of this Fort Scott I bought at Tulsa. This Tumble on Impact 9mm 115 grain. I don't know what it's going to be, but here, I'll turn on my camera.
It's going to tumble on impact.
Yeah, I know.
You just said that.
Well, so it says. But it's kind of a stupid mic, anyway. It's a real pointed bullet. But it's supposed to be a self-defense round, but it's not a hollow point.
Well, I mean, that could lead into another question. Did you have something, Sarge? I'm sorry. How, like the tumble on impact and the fragmenting and the hollow point and all that, at the factory, do they come up with some type of calibration to say at 20 feet this should happen, or at 50 feet this should happen to the round, or like how do they know that if I'm standing 5 feet away from you and you hit me with the tumble on impact, does the impact right away start to tumble, or does it have something to do with the feet per second? Like, how does that work?
What I've heard, when it hits soft tissue is when it starts tumbling.
Well, I've still got my vest out there. Of course, it's been sitting outside for 2 months because I've just been lazy and hadn't picked it up. Actually, it's sitting on my little set of steps I got out there. But I'm going to put a round of this and shoot through that vest just to see what it does with the vest before I throw the vest away. But
Yeah, that's where David. That's where, from what I understand, because I'm not familiar with like that tumble on impact round, but that's where I'm more familiar with the soft points and hollow points. It's usually more of a velocity dependent. So that's where, for like using an example, something like the soft tips, soft points that I use in my rifles. It's okay. Well, they expand, at this rate, whatnot, but they have to, for like a hunting application, because that's what I know best. But they have to have impact velocity above a certain feet per second for them to have the more or less, the hydraulic effect of the liquid in the tissue for them to perform that way. If they're going too slow, then they won't do that.
Well, that's the issue with some of the like 45 ammo and even some of the heavy grain 9mm is they're not moving fast enough, especially out of a shorter like 3-inch barrel or shorter 2.5-inch, 3-inch barrel semi-autos. They're not moving fast enough to actually expand all the way, and you won't get full expansion on them.
Well, I was talking to a guy at the range a couple weeks ago, and he had reloaded some different loads and testing them out because he said before he was getting a lot of pass-throughs. Like when he would shoot a deer, the bullet would just zip right through, and then he'd have to track the deer for however many feet, miles, or however, I don't remember what he said. So that's kind of why I was thinking about it too, is like, how do you know when the bullet is supposed to be where it's at to do what it does? Is point blank going to be the same as 100 feet away?
Just my guess, it would have to have something to do with how it acted upon contact. I don't think it would be a timing thing as well, like how far away it was. I would think it'd have to be once it impacted tissue that it would cause that effect.
And that's what would make most sense to me, is regardless if you're 100 feet away or 1 foot away, as soon as the bullet makes contact with its intended target, it's going to start doing what it does.
I would guess.
Where, like with the if I remember correctly, looking up like the Barnes non-leads, I want to say it's like you need an impact velocity over like 2,000 feet per second for them to open correctly. But if they hit at a velocity lower than that, then they act more like a Full Metal Jacket, which so it's depending on what your initial muzzle velocity is, you only have X number of yards of distance for them to still be at above whatever the manufacturer's design. Because I'm sure most of you guys have played around with over the years where whether you're swimming or whatnot, if you drop into the water slowly, it displaces, but if you hit it hard, then it doesn't move out of the way, and that I believe that is kind of the hydraulic effect that causes these rounds to expand.
Yeah, but you have to realize in hunting rounds, any real, let's say whitetail caliber, something 243, somewhere in there, 270, 30-06, 308, 300 yards, you're not losing much velocity at that. I mean, you're losing a considerable amount, but not enough to keep it from expanding at like 300 yards or under.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's the application I'm most familiar with. But as I understand, even your 9mm pistol rounds would have something similar that would apply to them. I'm just using an example.
I'm certain because they're slowing down, and a pistol round slows down a lot faster than a rifle round. Just even percentage wise, if you're taking them equal, just because they're so much slower start. But
that's kind of what got me interested in the topic in the first place is when I got my AR, looking at how fast the rounds come out. I'm thinking, well, if you're in my house, and at the time that was my only firearm, so that instantly became my home defense weapon. If you're in my house, we're pretty close, and I don't want to fire a 223 round or a 5.56 round that's just going to zip right through you and not do what it's supposed to do because it's moving so fast.
Well, you got to realize the speed out of one of them causes major trauma because you're talking total different speeds than handguns. Rifle versus handgun, that's a huge difference. And whenever that bullet punches through you, it does a huge amount of damage going through at that speed and shock it presents. And what's interesting about like that is, a 223 actually will go through less walls in a house than a 9mm will when you shoot it inside a home. It's strange, but it's true.
Well, that's right, as I understand it, because they are moving so fast. Say of a 16-inch AR, you're talking for a 55 grain, you're talking close to that 3,000 feet per second mark. They're almost moving so fast, they almost want to tear themselves apart when they hit something. So they tend to, even a non-fragmenting round tends to want to break, versus a 9mm traveling at 1,000 feet per second. It doesn't have that same, again, it's, the slowly hitting something versus fastly hitting something. When it's moving at 3,000 feet per second, a bucket of water, is like a brick wall, versus at 1,000 feet per second, it's gelatin, essentially.
You can kind of, if you ever seen the footage where the dude shoots JFK, the first, second, and the first two bullets you don't even really see, but what was it? The third bullet is kind of like what an AR bullet would do when his head explodes.
Yeah, I mean, you can just take a bottle of pop or an empty pop can, fill it full of water, shoot it with a 9mm, and then shoot it with a 223. It's just a huge explosion when it hits. That's just because of the force going through it.
So the pressure wave is going to have a lot to do with, like when the 223, it's moving so fast, the pressure wave that's going with it is going to do a whole lot of damage.
Well, that's part of.
I'd say shoot it with a 22 TCM. They really explode, a soda can does.
Well, how fast is a 22 TCM?
Out of my 9mm, out of my 1911, it's right at 2,000 feet per second.
22 TCM, what is that? I'm not familiar.
That is a shortened 223 case with a 40 grain 22 projectile in it. It's a neck down
so it's like a Sabo round.
Yeah, it's absolutely wicked out of a pistol. They make it out of you get it in a rifle too.
I want to play with one, but
you have to have. You should wear ear protection anyway. You have to have it. It is so loud. It shakes the ground. It puts out a gigantic fireball, and it's got no recoil.
Right.
That's where it'd be
it's
really
the greatest thing ever.
Like those 22 caliber Sabos that they use in the rifles.
Accelerators?
Yeah, the accelerators. If I could figure out how to get one for my 7mm mag, that might be fun.
We used to shoot the accelerators in a 30-30 because you got a gun that's, really 150-yard gun. You put those accelerators in it, which you could only load 2 in it, one in the magazine and one in the chamber is all you could load in it because they're pointed tip bullets. But this was way back before, you know, the new lever evolution ammo and all that. But you put them in there, you just made your 30-30 a 350-yard rifle easily. And they are moving bullets then. But nobody
do
loads
they
them
still
anymore.
make accelerators?
You can still buy accelerator rounds to load yourself online. There's like one place still making them, but you cannot buy preloaded ammo anymore with it.
Well, I'm setting up for reloading anyhow, so I might have to look into those.
There was only like one place when I was looking that still made them.
So I brought up the JFK thing. I don't know if any of you guys ever saw the conspiracy theory about the JFK shooting. About that the kill shot was a 223.
There's been bunches of conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
That's for
if
sure.
you don't think so, just go walk around downtown Dallas, and there's these little guys that consider themselves tour guides, and they'll come out and talk to you, and you keep your hand in your pocket on your gun the whole time because they're sketchy as hell. But anyways, they start telling you this, and all they want's a tip out of it. But they take you all around and show you all this stuff. It ended up being pretty neat. I was glad we did it. But he's just conspiracy theorist and showing you how he was trying to prove his point whenever you're there. It's pretty neat. If you ever get the chance to go down there, it's worth a $10-15 tip for this guy to walk you around and tell you his side of it. And there's like 10 of them doing it every day.
This story was a guy who was he did forensics, and he was like 2020 or something had him on, and they wanted to see if someone could make the JFK 3 shots with the Carcano. And he was the only guy who could do it. And he did it like on the 3rd try. So that proved to him it was impossible for the guy to make those shots. So then he spent forever going through the investigation, going through every bit of evidence that was left. And he believes it was through all of the evidence that he has, he believes that when he proved the investigation wrong on a couple things. But he believes it was a guy in the one of the Secret Service vehicles who was holding the M16, and he says he made the 1 in a million shot. It was a driver who wasn't trained at all with weapons, and everybody else was too drunk to apparently hold the M16, so they gave it to him. And so the best answer we could come up with is one of the rounds came from that gun, and it's all corroborated with evidence from the actual investigation. It's pretty good. If you're into that stuff, I think it was on Netflix.
Yeah, but you got to realize people that shoot bolt actions and train with them a lot can literally, you look at World War I soldiers fighting with bolt actions, they can literally run a bolt action accurately as fast as most people can run a semi-auto, truthfully.
This was a guy.
British Mad Minute.
Yeah, and you got to look at the weather conditions too. Was he firing his 3 rounds in the same weather conditions that Oswald was?
Well, what he says is that 3rd round had some weird marks on it. So he thinks it was an empty cartridge that he put in there to stop dust from getting into the action or something. I've never heard of that before, but apparently people used to do that. But I mean, the guy backs. First of all, he proved the investigation wrong on a couple things. A couple things that they came to conclusions were totally wrong. He found a bunch of errors. The guy did this type of stuff, so it was pretty. If you watch the whole video, it's definitely plausible, but it would be a one.
When was it done?
It was done, I think, the
And
early
when did he
2000s.
re-examine the evidence?
I think it was like mid-90s. He spent
Let's see.
years examining the evidence.
Yeah, 30 some years of technological advances.
And he actually recreated the dummies, and he pretty much what one of his actual conclusions that he has proof of is that the Secret Service collected as much evidence as they could, and then they destroyed it before it became public. They collected everything from photos, and another thing he brings up is how so many people smelled gunpowder on the street. I don't know. It's a pretty good thing. I mean, I can't, obviously, I haven't seen it for like 3 years. So,
Well, have you ever been to Dallas to where it happened?
no.
Oh, if you ever get the chance, if you're into those conspiracies, you have to go there. And it will make you think that, one minute you think after talking to that tour guide thing that, oh, there's no way he makes all these points. And then you go up to the museum and look out the window and they've got X's marked on the road, you know, where he was when each shot was fired and stuff. And yeah, he probably could have made those shots from there. You know, the trees have grown a little now and, you know, just 50 years or 60 years, whatever it's been since then. Almost 60 years. So, and all that. But if you take that out of account, you know, there's a pretty good chance he really could have made those shots with a bolt-action rifle right there.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea and the whole reason this guy started actually looking this stuff up was because he was convinced that he couldn't make those shots. Because out of 3, like, I don't know, military surplus experts or whatever the hell he was the only guy who was able to make the shots. So he thinks,
he was the one. So why couldn't there been somebody else that could do it?
Because it took him 3 tries. I'm just saying, like, that's what convinced him it wasn't possible. Yeah, he thinks he fired the first 2 shots. He absolutely thinks he fired the first 2, and he thinks that's all that he fired. And the third shot was a freak thing. The guy didn't have the safety on and pulled the trigger when they nailed the gas in one of the Secret Service cars behind JFK's vehicle. And there's a picture of the guy standing up with the M16. That's the theory. That he stood up with the M16, the guy nailed the gas, he pulled the trigger, guy had no firearms training, and that was the kill shot that blew JFK's head to pieces. Because that's what a 223 does.
You also have to be really careful about confirmation bias, because that's where if the guy didn't think it was possible, then he went out and confirmed it wasn't possible. It could have been confirmation bias as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch it, it's the level of him going through every single bit of evidence. It's pretty awesome to see. And yeah. I mean,
there's so much interesting stuff on that JFK thing. I'm always fascinated with it, but if you can watch one thing and it'll make you believe the one way, and then you watch the next thing and you're like, oh yeah, well that's totally true too. So that's one thing that I've always found interesting about that is, you know, the different conspiracy theories and how much all of them are so believable.
That's what started the 60s.
I've never believed any of the conspiracy
what killed the
theories,
innocents.
So I don't believe really any of the conspiracies. I don't even believe 9/11, but I was trying to procrastinate one night and not do homework, so I ended up watching that.
You realize it was still the 50s up until JFK got killed. I mean, seriously, they suits and ties everywhere you went. It was still the 50s. And what was it, 63? But after that is when the beatniks and the hippies and everything changed. The country changed when he got shot.
Yeah, sorry, Sarge. I didn't know that about the whole. It was the 50s until that point, because I wasn't around at that point, so I couldn't say.
No, but like, I mean, I just like my dad. He was in junior high, and and when you look at pictures, look at people when they went to town. The women wore a dress. Little kids had dress pants on and a shirt and probably a tie when they went to town, and you wore your suit coat when you just were going to town, and then after that, everything changed. It was the end of the innocence.
That's funny when you watch like old Mission Impossible episodes. They do the same thing. They're always like moving around and switching around. They always have. It's kind of weird. I mean, that's the only insight I have into it. I know it's a TV show. Has anybody ever binge watched the old Mission Impossible?
No.
That would be a negative.
It's actually pretty good.
The original?
Gary's like, I binge watched it when I was in school. Every Friday night.
Didn't binge watch it. I watched it when it first came on.
Who's in the studio audience?
Yeah. you know when you hear the studio audience clap? That was Gary.
What?
Nothing. Turn up your hearing aid. All right, guys. I guess I got to jump out and head over to Gun Gals. You know, Ben's I'm cool like that and get invited to that.
I don't get invited.
Yeah, I got it myself.
Sounds like pay to play for me.
Yeah, me and Gary are high ups. You know, this will be my second time on.
Well, what do you do?
Well, what did he do?
I really didn't figure I'd get another time after I shot him with the water.
Spouse on there like some people do.
What?
I said I don't have a spouse on there like some people do.
Yeah, he's got the inside track.
You sleep your way in there.
Well, that's, I don't know. Listening to the back and forth between Snob and Snob's wife, I don't know if having her in there is a benefit to him or detriment.
I've seen him in person. Trust me, it's exactly the same in person.
I did learn one thing though, Gary. Should I ever shoot Armentia with a water gun again?
I wouldn't recommend it.
How did that go?
Well, she had a taser out, turning it on whenever I was running.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't met her in person, and I'd be pretty sure that probably wasn't a good idea to begin with.
Well, what was the first time was all right. I just shot her in the back of the neck. But the second time, Cycle Camp's over there talking about that you got to be careful because I was unloading it in a paper cup that was sitting on our table, empty cup. And he's like, you got to be careful when you unload those. Sometimes you can get a negligent or an accidental discharge. And I was like, tilted it up and shot her in the face with it. I was like, oh man, negligent discharge, my bad. That one didn't go over well.
Well, after that Slim Jim video trying to determine it wasn't a candy bar, I don't know. She may have deserved it.
Yeah, I'm in trouble over that deal too because I commented on there that it was scripted. So
yes, he has to retract his.
It's prearranged.
To it. He's going to lose his man card tonight. Come on, let's go get our.
Did the host check out?
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
No, I didn't fall asleep or anything. I didn't really have anything to add to that. So, David, you got any more questions you want to ask?
All right, guys, I'm out. Thanks for the invite, Rich.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah. Later, Snob.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
See ya. Oh, Lizard Larry took off too.
Yeah, he got an invite over there to the women's chat too. So
I don't get invites to that.
I think it was Stacy is her name. She did a pretty good video from the gun show where it was the like hidden furniture stuff for your to lock your guns up in different safes and hiding spots. There's some pretty cool stuff in that video. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
Is it bad though when I start seeing some of those ads for the tactical wall, the tactical shelf, all that kind of stuff? It reminds me of I think it was sometime in the 2000s when the first of the new Punisher movies came out, and that guy was hiding stuff. Had some in the bathroom, had one that was into the bottom of his desk, all that kind of stuff. That's what it reminds me of.
Okay.
And that tanked the chat.
Yeah. It's like, Yeah, they've been doing that kind of stuff in movies for ages. I mean, you look at some of the old TV shows, you have guys that would have a 1911 duct taped up underneath the center drawer of their desk.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, because in the 80s I was in elementary and middle school and I wasn't allowed.
Yeah, the only reason why I don't have them stashed around the house now is I don't think the girlfriend would approve.
I won't lie and say I didn't do it with a BB gun, though. Yeah, I most certainly did it with an air pistol. So, yeah.
We went to Walmart this morning to look and see how much their steel targets were, and then to get the fruit that we use for our targets. And some of the air pistols that they have there are super cool looking. I mean, they look real as can be. I'm never going to buy one because I don't want, a toy gun, but they're really cool looking.
City Limit Sniper Rifle.
Say again?
Yeah, that's where one of my roommates and I used to, we were in, an area that you couldn't discharge firearms, but there was always squirrels running across the back fence. So that's where We ended up using a couple pellet pistols and just started dropping squirrels off the back fence because there's so many of them.
Our neighbor used to pay my brother and me to shoot pigeons off the roof.
Yeah, that's where I miss the days where where I lived out on land and I can. Oh, hey, the weather's nice. I got nothing better to do. Let's grab the 22 or the 12 gauge or whatever and just go out and pop a few rounds, just have some fun. Can't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Sarge. I see the city limit sniper rifle.
That's it.
Yep. So I don't know if there was a question in there or not.
Well, I mean,
no, that's an air rifle.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up after the show. That looks pretty cool. Some of them are just, I mean, really, really cool looking. Like they look just like the real thing.
Yeah.
And don't they actually make some integrally suppressed, air rifles nowadays so that they're super quiet?
Yeah, I mean, you can easily take down wildlife with a air rifle. You get the right one. Remember, Lewis and Clark carried air rifles with them on their expedition for that purpose.
Oh yeah, that's where was it? Texas Airgun actually makes them that are. I think they have one that's like 50 caliber, another one that's like 53 caliber or something ridiculous.
And Vanessa Kitty was in the one chat. She was talking about she wants to get one of the 20 millimeter ones that this one company makes for doing that kind of thing. So.
20 millimeter, holy cow!
Yeah, that's a big pellet.
Well, yeah, because 25.4 millimeter is 1 inch, so 20 millimeter, that's got to be what, 7/8 of an inch or pretty close to it.
Be the same diameter as a 20 millimeter cannon round.
Right, but that's where I've never done the math to convert from 20 millimeter over to caliber for a comparison.
The only thing that matters is that it's big. That is a big pellet or BB, depending on what you're shooting out of it. I think that is a massive round for an air rifle.
Oh yeah, that's where I was just I don't know if I necessarily want an air rifle that big, just because I personally don't see me using it for much. But getting one of the old school like 58 caliber rifle muskets or something might be kind of fun for black powder.
Get a blunderbuss.
There you go. Big old black powder shotgun.
Is the Silencer Co. Black powder integrally suppressed muzzleloader legal in California?
It was when it came out, but I don't know if it still is. I'd have to look.
One of those would be fun to play with.
Yeah, that's where the loading procedure on that, because of having to use the loading tube to go down through the suppressor before you can start putting your powder and ball down it, to me it seemed like it might be kind of a pain in the butt. And if I'm not shooting black powder, I don't really care if it makes the noise because I'm shooting it out in an area where it's perfectly legal to do so.
Those are one of those weapons where you get one well-placed shot at a deer. If you miss, oh well. You ain't doing a quick follow-up.
No. That's where one of my buddies actually has a 50 caliber inline that he recently got that he's, been trying to use for deer. Just, hasn't had the opportunity to get one yet. Because he has the black powder, and then his primary deer rifle is a older Remington 700 Sendero in 7mm mag. So that's where he really wants to get one with that black powder.
Is California where you get a separate black powder season and a separate firearm season, and you can get deer during both seasons, or is it where you have to make a choice of one or the other?
You can get an archery only tag, for just bow, and then you can get a general tag, which during general you can use rifle, black powder, or bow, depending on what you want to use. I have
But-
seen a couple guys, carrying bows during general season just because that's what they wanted to use.
Right. So if you were hunting with bow, could you get one during bow season and then one during regular season as well?
I would have to double check. I want to say if you get an archery only tag, then it would, if you haven't filled it during archery season, I think you continue using that same tag during general, but no one in your hunting party could have a rifle on them. But I'd have to double check that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works in West Virginia because I've never actually had my hunting license in West Virginia, even though I'm not going to go any farther than that. But in Pennsylvania, if you could get a deer during black powder, and then you could get a deer during regular rifle season as well. So that's why I was wondering if they did it the same way, or if they did that differently out there.
You can buy multiple tags because that's where I think you can get up to 2. So you may be able to get, you can get either 2 general, or you may be able to get 1 archery and 1 general.
Right.
Some areas up here, like where the zones that I hunt, are generally I only hunt the rifle season pretty much, but it's not a draw. It's they have X number available, and there you can just go in, cash, and go. It's as long as you got a valid license. But there's some zones that you have to draw for, and those ones maybe have more restrictions. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Now, do they have different tags? Like if you a buck tag and then a doe tag, or is it just whichever?
Buck only.
Buck only.
Yeah, that's right. I was talking with actually my buddy that was, used the 7mm. Him and I both agree that's because we were looking at it's D3, 4, and 5, which doesn't mean much to you guys, but that's where it's a decent sized area, but it's also one of the most commonly hunted areas. We were looking this year, they offered, I think it was like 33,000 tags during, general season tags. My buddy and I were both looking at, based on our herd population, we're like, it seemed like it'd have been a better idea to drop it down to like 25, for a buck, and then offer like 2,000 or 3,000 doe tags or something. May have been a better mix. But yeah, they don't do doe tags. Not for if you're a youth, you might be able to. I've never looked into it, but yeah, otherwise there's no does allowed in California.
That's interesting. That seems counterproductive if you're trying to control population.
Agreed.
So, anybody else got anything else they want to talk about? Since apparently David's run out of questions.
I mean, I could keep going, but
you got any more questions? Ask while you can.
Well, no, this one really isn't a question. It was just, I guess, a topic that I could bring up. Is the other night I was flipping through the radio as I was driving home, and I happened to stop on this one station that they were talking about gun control. So I hit stop on the radio real quick, and I was listening to it. There was the radio host, and he was interviewing a bishop at some church. I'm pretty sure it was in Maryland somewhere. And this guy was completely honest about his opinion. He just straight up said he wants all the guns except for the single action hunting rifles. And he had no facts whatsoever. He kept saying that there was 40,000 gun murders every year. Didn't say anything about suicides. He was talking about all like actual gun violence. He kept saying that we need to have a ban on fully automatic weapons. It was, and nobody was able to challenge him because there was a call-in show, but the host right there was just saying, "Oh yeah, you're right," not challenging him on any of his statements. And then when one person did call in to kind of challenge him on the statement, they got into kind of like a fit over the wording that was used. I don't really know what was going on there, but it didn't go well. But surprisingly enough, there was a lot of people that were calling into the show that were like, "Yeah, take all of them. We need to get every single one of them." And going along with his, I don't know why anyone needs a fully automatic weapon. Well, you can't just have a fully automatic weapon. Why are there 40,000 murders a year due to guns? Well, that's not even true.
That's not even close.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers are, but every radio station I'm familiar with, they have call screeners. So I guess they're only going to let through the people who are voicing the opinions that they like. So I mean, I guess it really depends on what the opinions of that station is or what they're going to allow through.
Well, it ended up being, when I got to my house, it was the end of the interview, so I just turned my car off and left it on the station. And when we went to go get in the car this morning, my friend asked me why I was listening to it, because it was a religious station, and not anything against religion or anything, but I have a problem with radio station religion. And I didn't realize it was a religious station. I just thought some guy had a bishop on doing a radio show. So they're definitely not going to allow a whole lot of back and forth against the bishop on this radio station.
Right. There's one of the talk radio guys I like to listen to periodically. It's he's out of nowadays he broadcasts out of New York, but it's syndicated all over the place. But he actually used to be a CHP or sheriff or something out here in Sacramento for a number of years, and he's one of those. He's not necessarily anti-firearm, but he much prefers to be able to have the back and forth. And it doesn't matter what opinion you come on with, you'll always kind of question, okay, back up what you're saying. And okay, you quote, like on that one, 40,000, murders. Okay, great. Where'd you get the information? This kind of stuff. So that's one thing I like about listening to his show, is because he, occasionally will have people come on there and start ranting, and he'll shut those people off a lot of times, because if you can't back up what you're saying, then you're not really helping, because he wants to have a legitimate conversation.
Well, and that also backs up to a question that I have with my mind just went blank. Oh no, sorry about that.
No worries.
Oh yeah, I just forgot. I just had it in my head and I just forgot.
Everybody does that every so often.
What are we talking about? Having me just now.
Who are you guys again?
Yeah.
It's a common tactic of the left to completely blow out of proportion what the murder rates are when committed by a firearm.
Anytime you have to exaggerate, that means your point's not very good. Anytime you have to exaggerate numbers, just let the facts stand the way they are.
Question. A couple of the callers actually called in, and the bishop kept using the term as well, 30-round magazine clips. Now, can we have, and this is an honest question, this isn't just to kill time, like I actually want to know this answer. What is a clip? What is a magazine?
A clip is a device for loading a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, magazine, contains the ammo, and then has some form of system that,
Spring.
well, yes, spring is typically what's used, but I'm trying to be a little more generic on the magazine. Has some system in it that will push the rounds to the action of the firearm, so that way, as the action works, it can be loaded. A clip just holds the ammo, so that way it is contained. A stripper clip is a good example, or the M-block clip is a good example.
But they go into a box magazine, don't they? Typically.
Well, that's where, like the stripper clip, it holds the ammo that way, and then you use that to quickly feed the ammo into the internal magazine.
Yes.
Usually of a military-style rifle, such as the Mauser K98 or the Springfield 1903 or something like that. And then the internal magazine has its spring mechanism that keeps, that pushes the ammo to the magazine. versus with an AR, you have the detachable magazine, and it has its own feeding system contained within that removable magazine.
Don't forget about the end block clip.
Yes,
The
that's the end block.
Mannlicher.
Yeah, the end block clip. We're using the Garands or Garens, however you want to pronounce it. It held the ammo, but it didn't. That clip did not feed the ammo. It just kept the ammo positioned in the way that the internal magazine, internal spring of the Garand could push the ammo to the top, so that as the bolt moved forward, it would strip around off the stack and feed it into the chamber. Does that answer your question, David?
Indeed it does. Now, okay, in a lot of the legislation about assault weapons, it talks about a detachable magazine that attaches from somewhere beside the handle. So obviously, like your pistol, you put the magazine inside the handle. So I don't understand what that means. Like, why? What difference does it make if I put my clip inside the handle or out in front in the magazine well?
Oh, I got this one. It's because black people like to use Tech 9s, and Tech 9s are really scary. So here we go.
Well, aren't Tech 9s loaded through the handle though? Don't the magazines go into the handle?
No.
No, the Tech 9 magazine, as I understand it, loads in front of the trigger guard, but versus like a Beretta or a Glock loads up through the handle. Even the old school Uzis load up through the handle. A magazine that feeds through the handle is generally going to be limited to a pistol caliber. Otherwise, the grip would become too large for you to hold it like a pistol. As to why the magazine that loads somewhere other than the handle was so much more dangerous than the magazine that loads through the handle, that's just the antis not really knowing what the heck they're talking about, because either one of them is capable of containing rounds.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's that they don't understand. I would put it this way: it's a direct attack on AR pistols and AK pistols.
Well, I usually bring the Tech 9 up, not as a joke, but to talk about how the Tech 9 was never adopted by any military. So what's the Tech 9 doing on the assault weapons ban? So that's why I bring up that it was, I always joke with the people who are high and mighty. They're like, oh yeah, we need to stop this. It's like, oh well, yeah, it's on there because the assault weapons ban was part of the crime bill, which was super racist. So I always throw that in people's faces. Probably not very constructive.
It's just like you said, it was not military, ever adopted by a military. Look at your old bolt action military rifles versus hunting rifles bolt action. That's the same thing. If you really wanted to get crazy, those are more military than a lot of things that are actually on the list.
Yeah, that's where you look at, like the Mauser style action is used by, obviously, the Mauser, brand, Mauser rifles are where it originated. Design was stolen for the 1903 Springfield, but you look at your Winchester Model 70s. I think your Ruger M77s. I think your early Remingtons used a Mauser style action because it was a very robust action that could handle some pretty powerful cartridges. But yeah, I mean, the whole military style versus non-military style, I think, is kind of a moot point because it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, the Remington 700 was a standard sniper rifle for the Marine Corps for how many years?
It was after Vietnam, I think, is when that was, because during Vietnam they were still using 700s and Winchester 70s. I think Carlos Hathcock actually used a Winchester 70.
Yeah, still, I mean, they were using what most people would consider a civilian hunting rifle. In either case, I mean, it's whether it's the Winchester 70 or the Remington 700. But after Vietnam, the Remington 700 was used by the Marine Corps as their sniper rifle for how many years? So it's like,
Well, as I understand it, their 308, rifles are still based on the, Remington 700 design.
Yeah, they still use the same general action, everything. They just make them in house now. They have their own armory shops where they can put together their own custom rifles. The Army does it too for their competition teams and whatnot, as well as their sniper teams.
Yeah, they're using the same exact design. They're just, instead of producing it to a mass production spec, they're producing them to a custom shop spec. Anything else, David?
Why not buy 1911? And it should be kind of an easy question because I'm from Maryland, so it's not going to be a carry weapon. I don't have a carry permit, so it's just going to be basically something that I want and take to the range.
Are you saying you want us to give you reasons not to, or we want to tell you, yeah, it's okay, go get one?
Well, I mean, some people don't like the 1911. Some people say that it's the best thing out there. Like, I don't know. Is it?
They're cool.
Basically, the way I look at it is, if it feels good to me, it doesn't matter if it's a 1911, a revolver, a rifle, or whatever. If I like it, then
you like it.
Yeah,
they're neat.
It's a personal preference. I have my Shield 40, and I also have a Sig P238, which is kind of a baby 1911. And the only reason why I don't have myself a 1911 right now is because of money. But I do plan on having one. It really comes down to some people like them, some people don't.
Yeah.
Well, they have a great trigger, but they're single action only. So you have to carry it. If you're going to carry it loaded, and I may get some pushback on this, but if you're going to carry it loaded, you have to keep it hammerback, safety on. It's the only safe way to carry it. Or you carry it empty chamber, loaded magazine, hammer forward. And then you have to, if you were going to carry it, then you would have to load it at that point. But you can't carry it loaded with the hammer forward. Can't do that. Because it's on the hammer's on the back of the firing pin, and if you dropped it, you could cause it to go off. But they're different.
Yes and no, Sergeant. Depending on which version of the 1911, as Class 78, Class 80, I think is how they refer to it. But that's where they do have some of them where you can carry them loaded chamber, hammered down, and you have the
it's probably the 80, but
I think so
what
too.
I've read about them is they had to compromise on some of the design to fit in that firing pin block, and a lot of people aren't as happy with those. That's just what I've read, because there's only so much room in there. Yeah,
that's how I understand it as well. I was just making a point that there is the different submodels of the 1911 that are available for different things.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, I guess I should have considered the old school, and then like he's saying, the more traditional 1911s, or could be your Series 70. That's the old style.
Yes, and that's the one I'm looking to pick up is a Series 70, and my 238 is based off of the Series 70. Yeah, you carry it cocked and locked. Generally, that's where some people aren't comfortable with that. So yeah, it's empty chamber, hammer forward.
That's just the only two ways.
Yeah,
and however you choose. Do what?
Yeah, it says either cocked and locked or Israeli carry.
Yeah, that's your only two ways you can carry it safely, in the traditional style. And why not get one? Get one in 45. Get one in 9mm. Get one in 22 TCM. Get one and enjoy it. They are very fun. They're old. They're completely outdated. They're over 107 years old, I guess is the patent date, and they're fantastic. So they're just cool.
And
treat yourself. Get one.
I like the 1911 a lot, and I definitely plan on getting at least one this year. Oh, 2019, what I mean by this year.
Yes. I mean, here's just my 2 cents. I've had a handful of Rock Island 1911s. They've all functioned well. I've had some issues with some of their magazines that they send with them, but that's no issue that a good Wilson Combat Magazine or something of that nature didn't fix. Other than that, the gun ran just fine. Are they quite as smooth? Like my buddy has his everyday carries a Springfield EMP 9mm, and that thing is an absolute Cadillac. But that's $1,000 gun, versus a $500 gun, and it shoots really good and it shoots very well. But you can tell some of the little subtle nuances how smooth that $1,000 one is. But for the money, man, start off with a Rock Island, get it in whatever caliber you want, and just get familiar with them. And then if you really like them and decide it's something you really, really like, well, then move up a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. I'm looking to get a Rock Island GI. It is the Series 70, non-adjustable front and rear sights, slab side. It is about as close to the original, World War II GI version I can find that I can afford. But yeah, I mean, so I've racked one of them versus I've never fired one. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance. Versus I've shot
$400 for the GI.
Well, for you, they're about $550 here.
Oh, well, you know what I did with mine? I had a GI 9mm with the standard sights and everything. I found on Gunbroker, I think is where I found it, or eBay. I forgot where I got it, but I got a Colt arch mainspring housing, swapped it out, and it made it look older. It looked so cool.
Yeah, that's true.
I had like virtually nothing in it.
Yeah, I have fired a World War II bringback 1911 that a buddy's family has. They just put a new barrel in it because the old barrel was wore out. And that was actually the first 1911 I ever fired. Beautiful firearm. I've had the chance to work the slide on a couple Kimbers in a gun shop, and you can noticeably feel that how much smoother they are compared to the Rock Islands. But for my money, I'd rather, both guns are going to outshoot what I can capable of doing. I'd rather buy the $500 one and spend the extra $800 on ammo and be able to go out and play with it and have fun with it.
You can get the GIs in 9mm too if you really want to save money. You can get them in 9mm.
Yeah, for me, it's 1911 is a 45. That's just my taste.
Okay, I'm not saying you're wrong there, not at all. Now I did see a neat one the other night. My buddy called me and he was selling a gun, and I asked him if he sold it. He said, I think I got it sold. He said, you need to come over and see what I got. And he would never tell me what it was. So I stopped over there and looked at it. He got a used Ruger SR 1911. It was a commander size, lightweight, 9mm. It's his everyday carry now. That thing is beautiful, and it is smooth as glass. And I think MSRP is like up in the 8s, but you can get that gun for probably legitimately for like $700 most places thereabouts. I mean, I'm sure in Cali they're going to attack you for some more, but it's like $200. Well, it's $200 more than or $300 more than the GI entry level. But I mean, there's you can get some pretty good guns for a minimal jump. I mean, we're not talking, you don't have to get $1,000 or $1,200 gun. You can get into like the $700, $800 range and really get into some nice stuff if you find that you like it.
Right.
And this guy, he is diehard 1911. So he tried some other guns, and it's just what he likes. He just likes them. That's just all there's to it. And there's no reason to fight it. That's what he likes. And he got that really nice 9mm carry gun, and it really is sweet. So I'm happy for him.
That is pretty cool. So it really comes down to what your personal preference is, and that's where, like, I want the GI one because that's where I can't afford a real GI, so that's where I'll buy, because to get one of the real ones, often at least one that's not wore the heck out, you're looking at pretty good price for because of the pedigree. So that's where I want to go with. It'll be a range toy. It won't be something I'll carry. So, but I want one of the old school looking ones. That's why I want no target sights or anything else on it.
Well, just look on Gunbroker if you like them. find you an arch mainspring housing and swap it out, and then get you some USA grips, some wood USA grips, and you'll have a very World War II-esque 1911 for a very reasonable price.
I was actually thinking about, looking into making myself a set of Sweetheart grips, which were real common back in the day.
Yep.
But
So
that answer
treat
your
yourself to the
question?
1911.
Yeah, does that answer your question, David?
I'm getting a modern double stack 22 TCM 9mm combo next week to try out. I'm gonna shoot a couple videos with it to compare to my single stack, and they're just fun. They make double stacks too in 1911s, but they're not quite as traditional, not nearly as traditional.
Yeah,
but they're neat. But anyway, I'm gonna slip out here for a few minutes, and I want to call it a night. So I appreciate the invite, Rich.
Yeah, no problem, Sarge. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, I'm gonna go sit down with the wife for a few minutes before she goes to bed.
Night,
So,
Sarge.
all right, guys,
Night,
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
see you.
See you later, Sarge.
Yeah. Something I'm looking forward to is I'm sorry, Rich, were you trying to say something?
I was just gonna say, yeah, what he was talking about with the double stacks. Most companies will actually call those a 2011, but yeah, it's just a double stack 1911. So if you ever see one like that that's labeled that way, that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I was talking with my girlfriend's dad last night, and he was an FFL for a number of years, and he's got a pretty significant collection. So that's where sounds like him and I might be doing some collaboration here over the next few months. Where I'll be able to more or less, if I'll buy the ammo, I might be able to do some range tests for some of his collection. Anything from a variety of ARs, a couple different AKs, revolvers, a number of different semi-autos, this kind of stuff. So I'm hoping I can make that one happen.
So what makes the 1911 cost so much more? Just the fact that it's not mostly plastic? Or I'm not talking about like the old collector stuff, but your 2018 Striker Fire polymer handle versus your 2018 Ruger 1911.
There's craftsmanship a little bit, but honestly, that's where if you look at one of the, what is, Rich, what do you say, like the Ruger SR, 1911, how much would you say that, you said, Sarge was saying that's about an $800 gun, roughly?
I've seen them for $740 locally. So, and a lot of it has to do with the way the parts are made.
Right, but I was going to compare that to, like, say, I guess Glock is kind of your most synonymous polymer gun out there, which is 556, depending on what state you're in. And that's, I don't know, maybe it's because of just how many of them are produced, so you can, they were able to get cost of production down. But that's for, I don't know if either one is inherently better than another. It's just different designs and what different people like.
I would give a different answer because I'm not a Glock guy, but it comes down to personal preference, really, as far as which one is better in your view.
Right, but David was asking about, why is there a difference in price?
The way that they're made, the polymer's a lot easier because it's molded. It's not forged and then machined. But the Ruger SR 1911, for example, that steel has to be formed into a billet and then it has to be machined into that shape. Whereas the Glock, they throw a bunch of liquid plastic into a mold and it just presses it and boom, done.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say that, probably, I think that comes down to part, like I meant about the they've figured out the production in order to make an efficient production so it doesn't cost them as much to make each one. Because that's where you see some of the other guns, you see guns that are made from the MIM, metal, which gives a similar effect to the injection molded plastic. And the MIM guns aren't very expensive either. So it's just a matter of kind of it's a production style. Of course, I think the injection polymer is a little better quality than the injection metal, generally speaking. But so it comes down to production style.
Yeah, and it also depends on where it's made. The Rock Islands are made in the Philippines, so they can give you a good quality metal for the frame at a lower price than what you would get it from one made here, like SR 1911. You got to look at that aspect of it as well.
Yeah. And that's for what Glock is being made in. They still make some in Austria, and they make some in Georgia or something like that now, don't they?
Yeah, I believe it's Georgia. And HK is supposed to be starting to make some of their handguns in Georgia as well now. So we'll see how that affects prices on those as well.
Yeah. But that answer your question at all, David?
I was muted. Yeah, indeed.
I appreciate that you guys have been inviting me on these shows. It's been a lot of fun, having you throw out some of these questions and us being able to go back and forth as a panel on some of the answers.
That's the point, man. We're just trying to get David's got questions, and we're trying to help him out because I believe he's new to the firearms deal. Is that right, David?
Yeah, full time now for just over a year.
Yeah. So anything we can do to help you out, man, that's the point of this segment. I mean, it ended up being the last two shows in truth, but
And like I said, man, I could do this 24 hours a day. I ask a lot of questions.
Man, like we said last week, if you don't ask the questions, you're not going to get the answer, right?
Yeah.
It's a learning opportunity for the rest of us too, because that's for, you may throw out a question that I hadn't thought about, and Rich or Sarge or someone else may have the answer and give, so everybody gets to learn from it.
Yeah, like with the 135 grain, 40 Smith and Wesson, I have a lot of experience with those because I actually carry them. So I might have been the only one on the panel that actually had that information.
Right. Yeah, that's for. I don't know if it was you that told me about those or someone else. I've heard about those before.
Yeah,
that's right. Because for my shield, that's right. I like the the target ammo I run is all 180 grain ball. That's for the self-defense ammo I've tested was 180 grain hollow points of one kind or another. I ran like 6 different brands,
right. But
that's where I've been told I should, especially for the short-barreled shield, I should try like a 165 because it give me a little more velocity out of that barrel. Mm-hmm. But it'll be something I just have to experiment with.
Right. And the reason why I like the 135s, you get more velocity out of the shorter barrel and less recoil.
Yeah, that's for. Although I don't know, maybe I'm just not overly sensitive to recoil, but that's like I picked up my 40 shield and put 3 through it, set it down, picked up my buddy's 9 shield, put 3 through it. I don't notice any significant difference.
Yeah. I can tell a difference between shooting 180, 165 grain and then 135 grain through my shield because of the damage to my elbow. I can feel the difference. So it's like
that makes sense because you have a physical not limitation, but you have a physical difference so that so you feel a little more kind of like he's not the most popular guy on gun channels, but that's for like Yankee. He talks about with the arthritis and that kind of stuff he has. He's noticed like the 357 causes him more discomfort than say a 9mm does.
Right. And here's the funny thing, right? We were at the range yesterday. I was shooting 158 grain, 357 Magnum out of my 627, and then I was shooting 158 grain 38 special out of my wife's 642, which is the narrow weight 38 with the 2-inch barrel. That damn little 38 was recoiling more than what my 627 was.
Well, that's where, how many do you have, off the top of your head, a relative, how much, one gun weighs compared to the other? Because I know that can make a difference.
Yeah. The 627 is a lot heavier than the 642, but the 642 was also a 38 stand, not even a plus P, just a regular 38 round. And which only had like 700 feet per little over 700 feet per second at a muzzle velocity. The 627, I was firing full bore 357 Magnum rounds.
Yeah,
and same bullet weight. They're both 158s. That little 642 had more recoil.
I had a 442, and I had to get rid of it because I got a nerve issue in my neck, and it was making my whole arm fall asleep. My hands hurt.
Yeah, I can see that. I want to get out to the range because I fired a 357 revolver, but I was only shooting 38 wad cutters out of it, and that's where they were an older batch of ammo. It was stuff my grandfather had given me, so it wasn't in factory box anymore, but it's stuff that he had used as training ammo for when he was in the sheriff's department. But that's where, when you're, I was shooting what was a Colt, I think, like a 4-inch barrel, and we were shooting the 38 wad cutters out of it. The recoil on that was easy.
Yeah, that's my 627. That's a 4-inch end frame Smith & Wesson revolver effective. That's the same size of the 629 or a Model 29 or a Model 27. They're all end frame revolvers. They're
right
until they came out with the 500 and the 460 and all that. That was the largest frame that Smith & Wesson made.
Right, and that's where, from what I've seen, looking at them in the in the store and whatnot, the end frame seems like the largest practical frame for carrying around. The X frames are, I realize that they were made for those 500 Smiths, but they are such a massive handgun that either an under the like underarm or a cross chest holster seems like the only practical way to carry those.
Yeah, and the ones that get me are those snub nose X frames.
Yeah, I've seen those. What was it? I think I saw a 500 Smith X frame, and it had like a 2-inch barrel on it.
It's like, who in their right mind wants to fire a 500 Magnum out of a 2-inch barrel?
Right. But hey, guys, I appreciate the invite. My phone's getting ready to die, so I gotta bail.
All right. I'm probably going to start wrapping this up anyway. So.
Good talking to you guys. Bye.
Yep. Catch you later, Pickle. All right. Anybody got anything they want to plug? David or Rupen, Jared, whatever you want to be called this week. Joking.
No, I'm good. Go ahead, brother. I wasn't gonna say anything.
I sold my AK Master mount with my Norinco, which is a way to mount the a scope rail without marring up a gun or bubba.
Right.
Gun. So I emailed the guy because the website didn't work and told him I wanted to do it again. I wanted to finish the testing that I never finished in the previous video. So gave him $80 and I got one coming.
Cool. So, yeah, those AK Master mounts are interesting little thing. Instead of having to rivet it to the frame, you have 2 pins which have a screw that goes into it, and it takes the place of your firing control group pins. You don't need to have the plate, the retainer plate, or the little paper clip spring in there. So yeah.
I didn't get to even zero it because I ended up selling the gun. But in that day I actually brought it to the range. The zero range was being used by my local PD, or a local PD. So, but either way, it's a pretty sick. From what I saw, I doubt it's going to move, especially if you Loctite those. Even if you use like purple or maybe blue, those pins aren't coming out as long as you clean them properly. And the other end of the pins index into the mount itself. I got a video. It's like my 12th video. So
Yeah, when doing just a little tip for everybody out there. When I'm doing firearm stuff and I have to use Loctite, I like using the oil-proof stuff. That way, when you're cleaning it, it doesn't weaken your seal. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, but that Loctite actually makes when it's oil-proof. So that your gun oils and stuff don't damage the Loctite, because that can actually happen. Oil can actually deteriorate the Loctite.
Damn.
So when doing gun stuff, use the oil proof.
Did you get your project done, Rupan?
I gotta set up my laptop, and I can't talk where my laptop is at. So I'm gonna go over there, and I'll do it after I get off this.
Good luck with it, man. Hopefully it works.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll find out. I got a bunch of other coding to do and stuff. But I was just fooling around with this right now, trying to get this guy to fit on my links. I went crazy Tapco. The hole doesn't line up though, so you have to do it.
That's where Dremels come in handy.
You got it. I got right here.
Before I got rid of the C39 that I had the V1, I went and modded the Magpul MOE handguard to put on there, because the pieces that lock into the frame or the receiver, are made for aren't made for milled receivers, are made for stamped receivers, so I had to modify it to fit it.
I did the same thing to the Norinco that I had. This Tapco stuff really feels like shit. I mean, it's so cheap, but once you get it, it just really feels like shit. Like, I didn't think it was. I knew it was going to be cheap and shitty. I just didn't realize this cheap and shitty.
Yeah, I was surprised. You know how you see those cheap Ergo, ERGO, AR parts and whatnot?
Yeah.
I ordered when I was doing the Shockwave. That's what I ordered. I ordered their adapter for the M4 to put the M4 style stock on there, and the AR pistol grip. I really like the quality that those are for as cheap as they were. I could have ordered like an aluminum piece and paid 3 times as much for it. But that polymer piece, that's pretty damn well made. I mean, it's a thick piece of polymer. It's not flimsy polymer at all on those.
That's nice. Not any bad.
Yeah, and those are actually that's actually the one that SB Tactical sells with their kit, because they have a kit for the Shockwave that and I guess it would work with the Remington as well. I don't know, but they actually have a kit. That's what Sarge used. Sarge used their kit, and that's how I found the parts for that. Was I looked at what they had, what came in the kit with it. So I ordered what SB Tactical sells in their kit, but I ordered it individually, obviously, because I already had the brace. Because they don't have the kit with the SBA3. They have that fixed one like what Sarge has.
Yeah.
On his Shockwave.
Wait, I was gonna tell David.
Go ahead.
Oh, I got rid of my 1911. It was fun as hell at the range, but it just turned into a safe queen for me. I didn't have a fancy one. I had a Remington R1 that was a couple of years old, 2-tone. Yeah, mine was 2-tone, and fun to shoot at the range. Not bad, but I like to carry, and it's not something I carry, so it was collecting lots of dust. So I got rid of it, and I traded it for a Glock 42. And I carry that Glock 42 almost every day.
Couldn't get to the mute button. Yeah, see, I mean, that's for the most part, especially like I said before, living here in Maryland, there's pretty much no chance that I'm going to get a carry permit. So when I buy guns, it's basically just, hey, I like that one, I'm going to buy it, or hey, it's available and I like it, I'm going to buy it.
You're going to love it. I mean, it's going to be a fun gun to run. But yeah, for the longest time, I'm like a carry gun. I've bought and sold shitloads of carry guns because most of them suck.
You need to get an HK USP. You'll be you won't buy another one.
I mean, honestly, most of the carry guns I've bought, I've just gotten rid of, even if they're like pocket pistol, because I get that nerve issue. So if it's too snappy, then I lose feeling in my hand.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you right now, man. That my HK USP, my wife loves it. It's the 40, right? There is no snappiness with that one. The way that HK engineered I'm not trying to take it apart right now because I've done it in the past. Go back and watch one of the videos from a little while ago because I actually did take it apart on air and showed because instead of having, how most of your firearms, your recoil spring sits in front of the locking lug on the barrel, and the locking lug locks into the frame of the pistol.
Yep.
HK did that different. Okay. You got your recoil rod, and then the locking lug that the barrel locks into is attached to the recoil assembly and has its own recoil spring. It actually is a double recoil system. Right. And then it takes down like a 1911. So your takedown pin then goes through the bottom of the locking lug portion of that recoil assembly. And it tames the recoil so much it's unreal and the snappiness of that 40 Smith & Wesson round.
You're never going to believe this, but it's actually on the approved weapons list for mass. Does it have a safety or a magazine disconnect on it?
Got I believe you can get it with the magazine disconnect, but it also comes with a manual thumb safety. It's very 1911. Here, I'll get it real quick and I'll show you the pistol itself. I'm not taking it apart, but I'll show you the pistol.
Maybe I'll look into it. I mean, the Glock 42 is like the best pocket pistol I've ever had. Yep, I can see it.
Here it is. See, it's got the safety. It's very 1911. Up, safety's on. Down, it's off. And then if you push it down again, there's your decocker.
Nice.
And then the slide release, just like with the 1911. The only control that's not like a 1911 is the paddle. It's got the European paddle style.
Oh, I hate those.
Mag ejector.
I love.
I tell you what, I can hit this with my trigger finger or my thumb real easy, and it shoots the mags out of there.
I have the Gen 1 PPS. Do you know what the Walther PPS Gen 1?
Yeah.
And it has the whole bottom of the trigger guard is the mag release. I love that. I don't know why, but I love that. I love that release. I used to have a PK 380, and I did not like that release very much. But I'll have to check one out anyways. I might have to buy a Glock 17 for my constable job, even though I just bought a Glock 19 for my constable job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of upset about that. I have to buy a second one. I mean, I don't know. Most people in mass can't buy Glocks because they're LEO only. But so I should feel lucky. But
my wife loves this USP. My daughter loves this USP. I mean, it's just a extremely smooth shooter. It's probably the smoothest shooting 40 Smith & Wesson pistol ever made. And you got to figure, too, this pistol was actually designed not around the 9mm. Most manufacturers designed their pistols around the 9mm and they converted them to 40. There's only two that I can think of that actually designed the pistol around the 40 Smith & Wesson.
The Smith, one of them, right?
Okay, make a 3. Yeah, the M&P, some people say, was designed around it. But I don't know if that's actually true. But I mean, it might be. I don't know for sure. I haven't been able to confirm if that's true or not. But two that I know for sure that were HK with the USP, and then the P2000, which is basically the P2, the USP, just a little differences. And then the P30, those were all designed around the 40. And then Beretta did it with the CX4. Or the PX4, excuse me, not the CX4. I always get those two mixed up. But yeah, the Beretta did it with the PX4 as well. Every other company that I know, that, as far as I can tell, again, Smith may be different with the M&P. I don't know for sure, but I know Smith did it to where they had the reinforced or the properly supported chamber for the 40, which is something that Glock didn't do. But when Glock brought out their 40s, the reason why they were breaking, they were just slapping 40 Smith & Wesson slides on Model 17 and Model 19 frames, which were not properly didn't have the chamber properly supported for the 40, and that's why their frames were breaking.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I met someone on a range one day, and he had the HK45, and he said it was one of the best pistols he's ever bought. I've never seen one ever since with an HK45. It was. He let me hold it, and I couldn't believe how lightweight it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, he said it was super soft recoil, but I've been carrying the Glock 42, and I'm not. I guess I'm a Glock fanboy, but I actually have a reason why I like it. I like it because it's so lightweight, but it's not too small, so it makes it very easy to shoot.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, go ahead.
What do you think of the new Glock 45? Like, to me, just aesthetically, I don't have any Glocks, but just aesthetically, it's the nicest looking Glock I think I've ever seen. Just to look at.
The Glock 45 is just the 19X with a black frame. It's the exact same pistol. They could have just they should have just called it the 19X and been done with it. It really isn't a different frame. It's just a different color.
I don't know. I don't really. What do I actually think of it? I don't really care that much. I mean, the Glock 19 works fine, but for someone who's got like screwed up back and screwed up neck and all that stuff, the Glock 42, man, it's just it disappears. I can shoot 4 or 5 mags through it in a row and not have nothing, not have my hand fall asleep or my knuckles falling asleep or whatever. So
yeah,
it's just smooth.
Yeah, the way it is with my Shield 380 EZ.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was actually thinking about getting one of those.
Yeah, I got one. That thing is super sweet. It's like shooting a Ford 19, going back to 1911. It's very much like shooting a 1911 and 380 only the hammers inside it. It's a single action 380. It's got the thumb safety. It's got the grip safety. It's got the push button. I'm telling you, it's a 380 1911 with a polymer frame and an internal hammer.
Yes, my Ruger Security 9 has got the internal hammer.
I'm not a fan of external safeties, just because I'm lazy and I like not having an external safety.
You can get the Shield EZ without the safety.
Probably not in this state.
Yeah, probably not in Maryland, but they do make them with or you can get it with or without. I chose to get it with because you can carry it cocked and locked that way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's one of the other reasons why I like a Glock. But I don't know, somebody was trying to say that the 42 is just a scaled down Glock. I mean, it is a little different. I mean, it's pretty much a scaled down Glock, but it's not like, exactly scaled down. But I don't know. I like it. I wouldn't recommend it if you don't need a carry pistol, though. I'd recommend you get some fun target guns or just random stuff. You know what I mean? So I agree. I think you should get the 1911 if you've been looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the bonus for. I got to look at whatever positives I can get. And since I don't have to worry about carrying, and pretty much all of my firearms are within home defense reach. So, I mean, I got a plethora of choices if somebody's in my house. I just buy the guns that I like, somebody says, "Hey, I got this rifle for sale." Well, let me fire it, and then I shoot it, and I like it, and I buy it, and there it is. You know, I don't really have a purpose behind it except for the fact that I enjoy it.
Yeah. And my bedside gun is something I don't know if either one of you could have. It's a 10-inch AR-15 pistol.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the. I haven't looked into any of the AR pistol regulations for Maryland yet.
So yeah, I looked up. So I was wondering if I could build an MP5 pistol because the MP5 is not on my state's assault weapons ban. So everybody's told me there's a weight limit, but I looked up the Massachusetts 1998 assault weapons ban. I printed all of it out, and nowhere in the ban is there a weight limit. So I think they're referring to some attorney general's regulation. But if I home build a gun, that regulation is for like consumer protection, not for home built guns.
All right. Can you guys have AR pistols in Massachusetts?
No, absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
Oh, here's the thing: is even though I'm a constable, pretty much the guy said I will, and this is for another buddy of mine who is a reserve police. They won't sell you anything that's not on the pistol approved roster, and he claims, including LEO, he will not sell a law enforcement officer any pistol that's not on the list. So I was like, damn, I thought you could get it wherever you wanted, but the gun shops might not care. It might just be, you know.
Yeah, I thought Leos were exempted.
I think they are, but I think that the gun shops are so afraid of our attorney general that they just err on the side of caution because all the Glocks are on there. But so yeah, I mean, I want an MP5 pistol so bad.
What about the one with the Raven's head grip? It still isn't illegal. It still isn't legal in your state.
What's the Raven's head grip? The
one like with the grip like what the Shockwave has. There's a company that makes AR pistols now that has that grip on.
The attorney general and law enforcement found out that they were selling Shockwaves, and they were all pulled from all the gun shop shelves. And I don't remember why. I don't remember if there was even a reason. I forget. They probably just said, "Well, we don't like this. This is scary." So somehow it's covered under this law. Take them back now, please. I don't think they took them from anybody. I think they just wrote an angry letter to FFLs. So
stop selling these.
Yeah, they're insane. Yeah, I try to tell people like they will come for it all. You know, when there's been a couple mass shootings where people have used like shotguns and pistols, and at some point they're gonna realize that they need to classify pistols, shotguns, anything that's semi-automatic as an assault weapon.
That's what 7115 seeks to do.
Yeah, which they've technically already done it in this state, but a lot of the people don't know. Like they just don't know anything.
That's the important part, especially in states like we live in, Rupan, is you can look at what's written in this federal bill, the 7115, and say it's never going to pass federally. Yeah, great, whatever, that's fine. I'm glad that it's not going to pass federally. But if you want to see it pass, just watch Maryland, and you'll see every statute in it pass.
Yeah, I have weapons now. If I moved to Maryland and brought those with me, I'd instantly be a felon. It's ridiculous.
There's a lot of leeway with Mass if you move here with guns that like aren't approved or whatever, but you have like a certain amount of time to get them to be approved or whatever, or convert them, but the magazines can't come. The boogeyman will catch you. I'll come for you tonight.
I see. Currently, we're allowed to possess any size magazine we want. We just can't buy it in the state. I mean, there's law enforcement that can buy them, but not civilians, and nobody will ship it into Maryland. So, like, I can't call Sportsman's Guide or Palmetto and order anything over a 10 round. Now, if I do order it, I'd have to go to an FFL, and they'd have to put a pin block in it, and that's not going to be done for free, and it's a hassle. So a lot of the gun shops and FFLs don't do it.
Right. Yeah. We were just talking about that a couple weeks ago, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if I were to carry my Vepr 12 into Maryland, I would be in serious trouble.
Well, you can conveniently go on the Maryland State Police website and go right on the roster and type in whatever firearm you got, and it'll tell you whether
Well,
it's legal or not.
it's an AK shotgun.
Yeah, I'm sure that's top of the list of illegal guns.
Yeah. Well, technically, it's not an AK; it's an RPK. But yeah, you get the idea. Probably saying RPK would make it even worse, right? Because it's based on a machine gun, not an assault rifle.
There's a Chinese guy that bought a magazine from me for a Norinco, and he said that he tried to pick up a a Dragunov, one of those Chinese ones or something, and from Gunbroker, and the FFL told him that it was an illegal assault weapon because it's an AK.
Dragunov's not an AK.
I said that to him.
It's a totally different action. It's based more on the SKS than it is the AK.
I told him that, and he said they didn't care. They just said it's an AK. It's not an AK in any way. None of the parts you can share.
No, you cannot take any of the parts out of an AK and put them into a Dragunov. Doesn't matter who makes it. Doesn't matter if it's a Yugo. Doesn't matter if it's a Russian. Doesn't matter if it's a Romanian. Doesn't matter if it's a Chinese. And by Romanian, I'm not talking about the PSL people. The PSL is just an oversized AK.
But
it's
even
like
the PSL, even that, they won't be able to argue that is an AK either because it's not an AK.
No, it's an AK action. The PSL does use an AK action.
Yeah, but make the case that it's an AK-47 or an AKM or really a variant of the AK because I guess you have to define variant. And the way they define it, you would think it would have to be able to share the features of the gun, like, physically, like take it out and swap it.
Right. Now, that brings up the question, does Massachusetts ban the SKS?
No.
Then the Dragunov shouldn't be banned either. It's the same type of action. The Dragunov uses the SKS short gas recoil system.
Yeah. They're just a bunch of ass. I don't know. They're just erring on the side of caution is all that gun shop's doing.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be super careful. I'm just playing with the gas settings, just fooling around. Yeah, they want to be super careful about it. Yeah. Cover their ass. Yeah. So that includes like when I was able to buy a SETME recently, a SETME clone. I was surprised, but it's just cut and dry. It's not on there.
Well, you guys know who AWAG is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He and I don't know absolutely anything about the AK stuff, and that's what he likes the most. Does it if it's not made in Czechoslovakia or Ukraine or Russia, it's not really an AK, or is it certain part? Like, if you go into the gun store here in America and pick an AK up off the shelf, is that really an AK?
Okay. First, Czechoslovakia never used the AK. Okay, I just want to. They had their own rifle that used 7.62 by 39 that they brought out in protest to the Soviet Union,
was it the CZ
telling everybody that they had to use the AK-47 or the AKM. So they came out with the VZ-57, VZ-58, etc., which is a totally different rifle, just uses the same cartridge. I just wanted to get that out. But essentially, an AK, there are different countries made them. China made them. Russia still makes them. Well, China probably still makes them, and I don't know if they actually still use them militarily as much as what they used to. The former Yugoslavia used them. They still make them. Romania, Hungary, anything that was Eastern Bloc or Com Bloc, they were using the AK platform rifle at some point.
Rich.
Yeah, speaking of China.
There you go.
But yeah, they were, and the AK rifle was the most manufactured rifle probably ever made. So it doesn't really matter what country they're made in; they are still AK rifles. And the thing you got to remember, one of the reasons why we make them in this country now and don't do a very good job of it, Century Arms, for example, and IO, is because they were never patented because they were made under the Soviet Union, and the Soviets gave the design to everybody who was under their sphere of influence. And when I mean everybody, I mean everybody. There is a country in Africa whose flag still has the AK-47 on it. So that you'll have different variations, but pretty much you're going to have the same action. You could take a bolt carrier from a Polish rifle under most circumstances and put it into a Romanian rifle, for example, and it'll work. You can do the same thing with a Chinese or a Russian or a Yugo. Now, there's some variations, like you can't put standard AK furniture on a Yugo rifle because they had it for the furniture mounted differently. But shape, size, weight, action, all that's going to be pretty much the same. Then that answer your question, David?
You ready? Can I add a caveat? So the question was, which one's the best, or no? What's the problem with American made?
Well, is it like if I were to walk into my local gun shop, which I don't know if Maryland allows you to, but just hypothetically speaking, and grab an AK off the shelf, is that really an AK?
Well, you could argue that none of them are really AKs because they don't have. You can't get the actual receiver usually. Hold on.
Yeah.
What about the pistols? If you live in a state, right, Rich? They're importing WBP pistols.
Yeah, that depends too on, because if you get AK pistol, a Yugo AK pistol or Romanian AK pistol, those receivers are made in Yugoslavia, or trying to remember where the Zastava is based, I believe in the Czech Republic. So that's an actual Czech-made receiver on the M92, the M85.
But this is just the pistols, though. The American ones have a.
That's because of 92R, 922R. That's what causes that issue.
All right, so we're splitting hairs here, but a lot of them are not going to have something's going to be different about them. They're not going to have.
And there's another way to get around that as well. Which is why the Veprs were brought in the way they were. If it's considered a sporting rifle, which is why the Veprs, when they were so to be brought in, were being brought in with pistol grip, not pistol grip, but thumb hole stocks. That got around the ban where you actually had a Russian-made receiver on it. So those are technically AKs, and you would have companies like Legion Arms over here or Legion USA that would take the thumbhole stock Veprs and they would convert them back to using the standard AK furniture. Because once it's over here and imported, you can do that kind of thing. As long as you have whatever, I think it's 5 parts on it that are American made, you can do that. So they would do that, and then they would change out maybe a spring or something. And remember, each magazine counts as 3 parts because you got the magazine body, the magazine spring, and the follower. So each one of those is 3 parts to a rifle.
And the fire control
under 922R.
Fire control group is another 3 parts, and good to go. But
yeah,
the point I would say the reason I believe these American companies are falling short is because they're trying to make them to like a strict price point. So they're like, okay, how could like kind of almost like Sky, like, hey, how can we make something like cheap as hell? Let's like cut as many corners as we can, because you can have like people are like, oh, cash trunnions, like some of the American AKs had cash trunnions, and people are like, it's terrible. Well, you can do cash trunnions, and you can do them properly if you do the engineering and you heat treat them properly. It can work, but the problem is they're not doing that.
Yeah, and what gets me about Century, they listen, they fix what was wrong with the RES 47, They bring out the whatever the VAKS or whatever it is now, the new one, and now they're undergassed.
Yeah, well, see, what happens though is I think personally what it is it's so expensive to make those rifles the way they did in the Soviet Union. Like it's very expensive, kind of like the 1911. 1911s are expensive too, and I think that people are just kind of jaded as to what a lot of people perceive the cost of AKs should be. A lot of people I know are like, dude, AKs should be like $350. If it's any more than that, then it's just wrong. I'm like, AKs never were worth that much. Yeah, maybe when they flooded the country.
Yeah, they were worth all that much because they didn't have back when those were at that price, either coming out of China or Russia, is because they weren't paying their people a whole lot of money, so they didn't have a whole lot of overhead to make them.
Also flooded
and they were able to flood. Yeah, and that's what I was getting to. They were able to flood the market with cheap AKs from Russia, and same with the SKS. They were able to flood the market with cheap SKSs and AKs from China and Russia because they didn't have the overhead of employee pay costs.
Yeah,
and that's what kept the prices down.
It's unbelievable that they did that, but so like a lot, I don't know. So I think if you're gonna like go out every once in a while and fire a couple rounds out of the AK, and you're not gonna go through thousands of rounds, you know, I'd say go with the cheaper American AK. But if you plan on using it for anything, you know, or you want it to be squared away at some point, then I'd say spend like maybe $2,000. Let's just put it this way: when I built my AMD 65, total cost without tools cost me like $890 with shipping for the parts kit and everything I needed to build it without tools, not counting tools. So that's something when these parts cost more than what Century charges for a rifle.
I still wouldn't buy an RES-47 for anything. You give me the money to buy an RES-47, I'm handing you the money back. I would not buy one of those for anything in the world. If I were going to buy a Century, it would probably be one of their milled receiver ones.
Now,
the RES-47, no matter, even if you're not shooting a whole lot of rounds, they are just junk. Pure and simple.
Now, I'm going to say this: some of the welds don't look bad at all on my my Century C308, my Set Me clone. Some of the welds don't look bad. Some of them do look bad though. The caulking tube weld, somebody did a little bit of a booger weld up there, but for the most part, the gun looks good. So it shoots good. I haven't seen any problems with it. But I saw Mac's video where he was like, "Those guns are dangerous. Don't shoot them." I was like, "Oh shit, I have one of those guns." But yeah, I don't know. From what I've seen from Wasser 10s, those really I've seen a lot of terrible looking Wasser 10s in the gun shop.
Yeah, but those things just run. Brobsky has done his damnedest to kill the Wasser 10 he has, and that thing just keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen rivets that look jacked up worse than the rivets that I did my first time. So, I don't know. I know what you're saying, though, and I trust Robski, but...
And remember, those Wasser 10s were also brought into the country as sporting weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Century had to open up the magwell to take his standard AK magazine.
That's why they had the wobbly as hell magwells that most of them...
Well, that's a common misconception. AKs are not supposed to have rock-solid fitting magazines.
Correct.
The AK is supposed to have some wobble to the mag.
Yeah,
Robski actually did a video on that because remember he served in the Polish military before he immigrated. He said all their magazines were like that. That's the tolerances they're made to. When he was serving, if you had a magazine that locked up tight, there was something wrong with that rifle.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, none of the mags locked up tight in the Army either, and most of the uppers and the lowers, I could fit some huge feeler gauges through. So,
but what was it, the AK, or was it a different rifle, or maybe it was something that I just invented? But you would have like a malfunction, And when you drop the magazine, it would fire around.
Oh, that's the SKS, and that's because a lot of them have a free floated firing pin, and it very rarely happens. But there was, and it was the Chinese ones, the one batch where if you dropped it, that free floating firing pin could hit the primer and set off a round.
Well, you know why? I mean, that obviously makes sense because every Chinese gun I've ever had, I've only had two, but they all have spring-loaded firing pins, so they must have learned from those problems.
Yeah, you can buy a kit if you have a free floated firing pin SKS that he puts where you can turn it into a spring loaded. And mine is perfectly fine. It's still the free floated. It's never gone off of dropped or anything.
So,
but mine's an actual military surplus. The ones that were having the problem were Norinkos that were made for the civilian market specifically.
So we would say, I'm saying if you want to be a cheap out, you want to be a real cheapo, and just spend whatever it costs for the Century Arms AK, and you're only going to shoot it like once and then put it away for the rest of its life. I would say, sure, go for the Century Arms. But if you want to do something that you want to actually use and be safe with, then I say go with the more expensive one. And then, Rich, you obviously said don't even mess with it.
Yeah, and just as a caveat, when we're saying Century Arms, we're saying ones that are actually made by Century Arms, not imported by Century Arms. So there is a distinction there. The ones that are imported by Century are fine. The ones that are made by Century are the ones that you have to be careful of.
So, see, we're spring loaded here. Can you see that?
Yep.
Awesome. That doesn't look very good, though, huh?
It's just, I'd keep an eye on it.
Yeah. It's not a locking lug, though. It's a part that sits in the bolt carrier group. The locking lugs look fine.
Yeah, it might just be normal wear. If it progresses any farther, you might have an issue. But
yeah, I'll send it back at that point. Call up China. Hey, China.
I'm sure they're good for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Chinese businesses are reputable.
Well, I'll be calling up SDS, not China.
Uh-huh.
The rails are really weird on this gun.
What do you think of that? How's that Keltec working out for you?
The RDB?
The one that you can fold in half and stuff?
Oh, the S2, the Sub 2000. I like it a lot. I think if a lot of these people like the Roni carbines and they like the, whatever you like. I have the SIG one, the SIG adaptive carbine platform. I would much rather use the Keltec. And I was telling that to another constable there. Oh yeah, we'll get who's also the reserve police or whatever, special police or whatever. So he was like, oh yeah, I was thinking about getting one of those, and I was like, dude, just get the Keltec, man. Like it's like $430. It folds up. It's just gonna spit gas all over the place. But if someone stole it out of your vehicle or whatever, it wouldn't be a big deal. Like that.
What's that chambered in?
Mine is in 9.
Nice.
And mine takes the Glock 19 or Glock 17 mags, or the fun stick if you got it.
All right. Now, how does that work? Like, how can Glock magazines work in everything all the way to fixing your flat tire? Why do Glock magazines go in everything?
Well, because Glock magazines are so prevalent because of how many Glocks are out there, so the manufacturers just make their firearm where it takes a Glock mag. I mean, you can do that. I mean, it's not that hard. You just make it to where it fits that shape.
Yeah, so I can right now. I bought Glock 19 grips for my Sub 2000, and I installed them. So now it has Glock 19 length grips. But you can buy a different frame that'll take Smith & Wesson or the Ruger. I don't know if it's the Security 9, but you can buy a different frame that takes Ruger pistol mags. Or you can buy, I think, a Beretta. They've got like options so you can match it to your pistol that you like.
Yeah, and the really interesting one is that Ruger made their pistol caliber carbine take Glock magazines.
I watched Nut and Fancy's video on it. Surprised that he loves it, but he also said he would use the Sub 2K because the same reason I said it, the Sub 2000 fits in a laptop bag if you fold it up.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting though that Ruger would make their firearm take Glock magazines. You don't see that very often when you got one of the big name companies making a weapon that takes another big name company's magazine.
Well,
usually,
I think they saw why that would be important.
And Ruger magazines are expensive. Like, especially if you want to get the 15 round mags or bigger, they're not cheap.
Well, we know the, what do you call it, selling, right? The PCC, that is a pretty good seller, right?
Are you talking about the pistol caliber
Yeah,
carbine?
PC. That I'm pretty sure that's not a bad seller.
Yeah, it's probably doing pretty well, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. You're right, though. That is kind of silly.
Well, I've got the SR40, and every gun show that I've been to, and all the internet sites that I look at, the internet sites are more along the lines of just a reference because I can't order them over 10 rounds anyway. But the 15 round magazines for the 40 were like $30, $40 or something like that everywhere I saw. And that could just be that one experience for me, and it's not really like that. But every time I look up Ruger magazines, they're expensive.
That's actually more average price. Glock magazines are just so cheap because of how many are out there. The magazine market is just saturated with Glock magazines. That's a big part of it. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's like the AKs and the KSs back in the 80s and 90s. The market was so saturated with them, it kept the price down. Well, that's the way it is with Glock magazines. There's so many Glock magazines on the market that they're cheaper than everybody else's magazines. Smith & Wesson magazines are around the same price as what you were saying for Ruger. Hell, SIG and HK magazines usually cost more than that. So, I mean, it's just, that's how many are out there on the market. That's why the Glock mags are as cheap as what they are. And then Ruger, Smith, and everybody else's magazines are priced that much more because they don't have as many on the market as what Glock does.
Well, how much does the Magpul Glock mags cost? Like $20 a piece?
Something like that.
Yeah, I got one with my my Sub 2000. I've not had any problems with it.
Do you guys think with the landscape of the politics that we're looking at that gun manufacturers are going to raise prices or lower prices, or are they going to for the rush that might come out with people trying to buy the firearms before they become illegal?
I don't know if the gun manufacturers are going to do anything. They may have learned their lesson from the Obama administration when they started making all these firearms because they thought there was going to be a ban that never came. So I'm not so sure that there's actually going to be a nationwide ban, to be quite honest. I think my thinking's a little bit like what Ghost is, that they're going to threaten and threaten and threaten, and then try and use this as a election talking point come 2020. Because as long as the Senate doesn't do anything, and as long as Trump doesn't do anything, there's nothing that the House can do.
Well, even at that, with the scare,
yeah, but
it always causes people to run out and buy firearms.
Yeah, but they thought that was going to happen with Obama, and what happened? Smith & Wesson, Ruger, and all these other companies made all these firearms, and then the scare never happened.
Right.
That nobody was going out fear buying, like what they thought was going to happen. So they were
Right.
stuck with all these firearms that they had to reduce the prices so much just to get rid of the inventory so that they could bring out the new inventory. So I don't think we're going to see the firearms manufacturers do that again.
And see, that's what kept me out of getting into firearms a lot earlier than I did, is I was afraid of the price tag. You know, every AR I talked to, somebody had an AR, it was, you know, $1,500, $2,000. Their handgun was $1,000, and I couldn't foresee myself spending that kind of money on a firearm that I was just gonna, you know, keep in my bedroom. And one day, my boss's son came to work and was talking about the gun shop next to our shop. And he said that they had ARs for anywhere from 800 down to, I think, 450. And I was like, "Are you kidding me that you can buy an AR for 450?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I went in that day and bought my first AR.
Yeah, post scare, the prices plummeted. Why? Because there was so many of them out there. They were trying to get rid of inventory.
Yeah, in 2012, after Sandy Hook, I think my cousin paid $1,400 or 13 or 12, maybe something in there, for a Smith M&P 15, Massachusetts compliant model. So,
yeah, and then once the Obama scare didn't happen, where they were going to be banning everything, everybody realized nobody was going out there panic buying. So after Sandy Hook, you had all these manufacturers that had all these ARs, all these handguns, and they just had to get rid of them. So that's why you had Smith & Wesson. Remember when Smith & Wesson was doing rebates of like $100, $200, depending on what weapon you bought? That's why they were trying to get rid of all this excess inventory after Sandy Hook, and that scare didn't materialize, and they were stuck with all this inventory.
yeah.
So, and I don't think the manufacturers are going to do that again. They'll make more money not producing an overabundance than they would if they were to keep at their
It would
rate right now.
I mean, the gamble, I didn't think Trump was going to win. So I almost agreed with what they were doing. You know what I mean? At the time, it didn't look like he was going to win at all, the way everybody said it. So I totally get why they did it, you know, because if she won, then man, they would have been crazy, probably record high sales the next day.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I want to avoid, because right now, I mean, it takes planning and saving and, you know, some definite tiptoeing through the tulips to make the money up to buy the firearms that I have. But right now, I can still do it. You know, if they lower the price, of course, you know, that's always better for it to be cheaper. But if they raise the price, then they'll just about push me out of the being able to even buy a firearms market.
No, there's always layaway.
And believe me, I use it. In Maryland, you've got 8 days that you get. When I go in on Monday,
layaway by law.
Well, yeah, you got the 8 days, so that right there gives you 2 weeks. You know, you save for a week and go in and sign the paperwork and put a down payment on it. Then 8 days later, when you can pick it up, you can pay the rest of it off, or you can wait 30 days and make payments on it.
Right.
And then some of the rifles I bought basically were layaway type of stuff like that, where I had extended time to pay for them.
Yeah, honestly, I don't see much changing. I really don't see firearms manufacturers falling into that trap again.
Unless if people get scared when more politicians start saying they're going to nuke people that don't want to turn their firearms in.
Most people were taking that as a big joke. Like, are you serious? Because congressmen can't give the orders to nuke anybody anyway.
Yeah,
that just made the two of those guys look like total and complete assholes.
I mean, and he claimed that it was sarcasm.
Except there's one problem. It wasn't just him. Another congressman came out and said it too. He didn't say nukes, but he said that they would bomb people, like because they have airplanes that could drop bombs. I'm like, really? We're gonna go down that road again?
I don't think they really know anything about that at all. I think they're just stupid lawyers. They don't really know a lot about guns. They don't really know anything about nukes. They're just idiots.
These people
and they run everything, and they make all the laws, and they make it so in order to apply the laws or see if you're right or wrong with the law, you got to call them and talk to them. It's insane. It's so insane that we have a system that requires lawyers to do anything. It's just nuts.
Yeah, I don't know if you were here when we were talking about Crazy Eyes earlier.
No.
God damn, how stupid are people in New York to elect her?
Oh, Cortez. Oh, yeah. With my brother defended what she said and said, no, she's right with the 2 jobs. It's like, Jason, go to PolitiFact. It says it right there, dude. It says, liar, liar, pants on fire. And PolitiFact is not right wing or really, it's pretty left wing. So, and then she said that I knew the military thing was wrong right off the bat when she was like, the military got a $700 billion raise. I was like, that's their entire budget. And then she's like, they don't want new stuff. And I was like, dude, I was in the military. If they knew that they could burn something or set it on fire or throw it away in the woods and that they'd get their budget would go up next quarter or whatever, they would do that.
Oh, hell yeah.
No missing. Like, they used to give us so much ammo every fucking time we went out to do anything. We would have shitloads. I mean, when it was blanks, we'd have like 6 times the amount of blanks you needed for what we were doing. It was like, why do we have this much? Well, you're going to shoot it all. So we used to throw blanks in the woods and all sorts of shit in the woods all the time. It's like, why? Because apparently it's a pain in the ass to turn it back in. Even C4. You know, oh, here's 100 packages of fucking C4. Why do we need 100 packages? Because we fucking said so. Here, take the C4. What? So I don't know.
Make C4 snowmen.
Well, yeah. Well, you make improvised Bangalores, improvise whatever you want to make. Improvise. Oh man, how's the name of that thing leaving me? Claymores.
Yeah.
Those are fun to make, but yeah.
Okay, quick question. David, do you know what a claymore is?
Roughly. I know it's some type of explosive device that you'd find in kind of like a landmine type of a situation at war.
Well, it's an anti-personnel mine. You stick it in the ground, basically, on pegs, and then when it goes off, it's like a shotgun shell without the barrel. It shoots a bunch of little ball bearing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It will if you put a green man in front of it, like 10 feet in front of it, he will be riddled with BB holes. Like I forget what the BBs are in there, but like literally the guy had to be over like 500 little BB holes in him.
Yeah, they are nasty things.
Let alone the pressure from the explosion alone will probably turn your insides into soup.
Yeah, and they could be either set off by tripwire detonation or with a detonator.
Those tripwires are little tripwire units. I forget what it is, an M76 or something in the Army. Those are fun to use too. Fun to fool around with. One Vietnam guy told me that they used to do base booby traps around the base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fire bases and whatnot, they would set up claymores around the perimeters.
What he said they used to do is they used to take like this is what he said. Now I don't know if it was true, but he said they would take a drum of napalm, like half full of napalm. They would drop a package of C4 down on the inside of it, and then run det cord out of the barrel, and then around the outside of the barrel a couple times. So he said they would blow the barrel in half. The C4 would blow up and spray napalm everywhere.
Yeah, that would be rather nasty.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, dude, I need to become a combat engineer. Let's go.
Napalm is some really nasty stuff.
I would love to go into one of those like old west setup towns like you see on the movies and stuff like that. and just get all that kind of stuff. Like you get a kind of like a video game deal where you've got objectives. You know, you got to burn one building down with napalm, and then you got to take, or a grenade launcher and bust open the bank. I mean, just you get to just absolutely level the city.
Yeah, here's the thing though. With napalm, you ain't burning down just one building.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a pyromaniac. I mean, I admit it. You don't want me playing with fire. It's not a good idea. And napalm is nice.
Napalm is so nasty, and yet it's so simple. It's ingenious. It's essentially jellied gasoline, and man, that stuff is just really, really nasty if you're on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I never got to use napalm, so. What question were we answering? Were we answering a question?
I don't know.
Where can I go? Where can I go and destroy an old west town with firearms and explosives?
Pretty much no. Probably, I have no idea. I don't know.
I can't help you there. I don't know.
Actually, I think the first step would be win the Powerball. That would be helpful.
Go to work in Hollywood as a something. I don't know what position would that be in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. Sarge said he doesn't have the house anymore. Yeah, but you know what would be cool is if you just built like I don't know, a 6-foot section of a house wall with insulation. You know what I mean? Like you actually just built like a little outside.
Build a fake rock ridge and set it up with tannerite.
There you go.
I'm just like Sarge's doing like his tests or whatever. So like I'm just like joking around. Like you just build a wall, like a little wall, like almost like a display you'd see in, I don't know, like an expensive construction shop or something, like expensive carpentry or whatever, mom and pop shop. You know, like a little. Here's what the inside of your house could look like, and here's the layer of the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just expanding on what you were saying. I mean, just build a fake rock ridge and rig it with tannerite. As you go through, you shoot this target, kaboom goes that building. You know.
Well, it sounds pretty good. I was just like, Sarge said it was no more now, so I was like, in my head that immediately popped into it. Like, hey, why don't we just build like a little? He probably needs some more Patreon money to put something like that together.
You need a lot of Patreon money to put something like that together.
They get the sticks, so you need a bunch of 2x4s. You got to get some plywood or whatever, so you can do the outside of the wall. What else is there? You got insulation.
You would need a Discovery Channel show budget, like Sons of Guns.
No, you could build a wall relatively cheap. It's you got to have a place to shoot at it.
Yeah, you would need that much tannerite. I mean, that fake rock ridge they built in Blazing Saddles was rather large. So you would need a lot of lumber.
Yeah, but you could just build one wall. Just frame up one wall, maybe drywall it and insulate it.
You still would need a lot of money to do that.
No, I could.
Not really.
I could
for like the tannerite, the lumber.
Right. I'm talking about just like shooting, like what Sarge has been doing with the defense pistols or whatever, and the shotgun. Will it overpenetrate? That's what Sarge has been doing, like a little video series.
Yeah.
I could probably build that wall. I could probably build like a wall that would give us the same thing for probably like if I did it for $200.
Just building a single wall isn't going to be all that expensive. Building a fake town.
Yeah. Well, there's no way. Like my shooting range would let me do that. I don't think they would.
What, the wall or the town?
I thought the wall, but lately I told you guys, I think last week, they let me shoot. They were shooting tannerite. They had a shitload of tannerite. I didn't even know that was legal in Mass. I didn't ask any questions, obviously, because I'm not a dickbag.
Well, it depends. Do they have a manufacturing license? If they have an explosive manufacturing license, it would be perfectly legal.
Well, here's the thing. One of the guys that's there is a retired ATF guy. So whatever, I think he's got it all. He's got machine guns and stuff. I think somebody said so. He's probably.
Yeah, he's
my friend from where you live at, Rich, can get tannerite. He brought some to my neck of the woods one day and we shot at it. Just 2 pounds worth. I mean, 4 pounds worth, 2 pound cups.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can pretty much get whatever you want here. They got a bill proposed in the House to outlaw the NFA in the state.
I'm supposed to go to his house next weekend to do the work on his deck for him, and this time I'm not going to chicken out. I'm going to carry. Once I get into West Virginia.
Yeah. Don't Maryland.
No, it's going to be locked and stored all the way through until I hit West Virginia.
Yeah, you'll be doing the show from Maryland Regional Jail, Washington
Right.
County Regional Jail.
I was playing some of that new Fallout game, and it's in West Virginia.
You say it's a video game?
Yeah, the new Fallout. Yeah, it's supposed to take place in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Which part? I don't even know what part of West Virginia it takes place in.
I have no idea either, but they play that West Virginia song,
Country Roads.
Country Roads. Yeah, they play that a lot, so it's in my head now.
Yeah, I've heard that song a lot, like watching Mountaineers games. So
You're gonna laugh. That was that song. I got friends in low places.
yeah,
That
the Garth Brooks song.
Yeah, the first time I heard that was in the Army, and everybody was singing it on the cow bus there. They put us into a cow trailer or whatever.
Yep.
Everybody's singing. I'm like, what the fuck song is this? Like, Private, why aren't you singing? Drill Sergeant, I don't even know what song this is.
How do you not know that song, man?
Well, Massachusetts. So
hey, I grew up in Pittsburgh, man. You walk into a bar, that song came on, everybody was singing it, even the black dudes. Come on. How do you not know that song?
Well, I'm a comedy. I used to be a Comedy Central liberal from Massachusetts. So
have you lived in Massachusetts your whole life? Like, is that your home state?
Yeah, aside from the Army. Yeah, I lived in Rhode Island for 2.5 years.
Well, that's kind of the same thing, though, right? Like the politics and all that are pretty much the same.
Shitloads of Italians. At one point, I was working at a car dealer. I was like, oh my God, everybody that works here almost has either an Italian or a Portuguese last name. I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm the only Mick here. I'm not really a Mick, but
right, yeah, I get jokes.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, so pretty much, yeah, I'm up here. So that's your reason right there.
Man, on that Friends in Low Places, everybody know the song. You ever notice how everybody shit talks Barry Manilow, but if you're at a club or something, as soon as one of his songs comes on, everybody knows it.
Didn't he recently, like a couple of years ago, come out gay?
Yeah, big surprise though, right?
So he waited that many years to fucking. I'm pretty sure most of Hollywood's gay. Otherwise, they wouldn't be successful and rich.
Yeah, that's like when Rob Halford came out as gay. Was anybody really surprised?
No.
Or what was it a couple years ago when George Michael actually came out as gay? Nope, no surprise there. Or Boy George. Gee, really? I think everybody in the 80s pretty much figured that one out.
Yeah. Man, I'm loving the shotgun. I want to go shoot it again, but just gotta be careful with my neck.
Which shotgun's that?
My SDS Lynx 12, made in China.
That's that's the copy of the Saiga 12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get my Vepr right now. My wife took it upstairs to our bedroom, so she's up there, I think, sleeping or something. So
I did not like the Tapco AK stock that came with it. Terrible. It has like a bump on it, and it, like the bump, like so this has Saiga sights, but it didn't come with a Saiga buttstock. It came with an AK buttstock. So that means your face is too fucking high to see the sights. So I had to like stuff my face down into the gun and put my nose right up against the back.
That's not right, because the Saigas come with AK sights. I mean AK furniture. Tapco just really screwed up the furniture.
It must be that, because I was just like, I can't even see this, and then there's a bruise like under my ear where that bump is, because it's not smooth, and it actually like bruised my face, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, you got the pre-band Saiga. That's just standard AK furniture on those damn things.
Yeah, well, something's wrong with it. That must be that Tapco stock then, because
Tapco stock or the Chinese screwed up, one of the two. I wouldn't put it past either one being the case.
Well, I got a different Tapco stock on here, and it's sloped more, and I can actually see the sights now.
Yeah.
Which I had to put the front post above the V-notch in the rear to actually get hits at close range. But further out, I could not physically get my face low enough to line it up properly.
Yeah, because I still like this stuff.
Nice. It's just hilarious though that I was shooting a shotgun with my face, my nose, almost on the rear receiver button.
This is comfortable to hold, but as soon as you pull that trigger, because this hard plastic, you feel it.
Yeah.
It was worse. It was worse when I had this sitting inside of it, because the way they put the brace on, it's not like when you put the AR on like that. You put the tube through the back of here.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you actually have to put this on before you put the tube on the weapon.
Yeah. That sucks. I was surprised how. So I fired a bunch of slugs and buckshot through the AK links with the gas on full blast, and that like freaking rocked me, like rocked the hell out of me. And then I put it on the low gas setting. Wow, wow! Just it was very manageable shooting the rifled slugs, the slugs, and the buckshot.
Yeah, that's what I like about the Vepr. It self-regulates.
I literally had my nose like on the back of the AK dust cover to see the sights. And I managed, I can only do it once because I started getting tired and, I got neck problems or whatever, the excuse trains rolling in, right? So I was able to hit the steel plate at 185 yards. I think it's like an 8-inch steel plate with a rifled slug. But I could not, I had to aim like 4 feet high and like 3 or 4 feet to the right or something weird. And I was able to get one ding out of it. So
yeah, I got my Vepr set up just for buckshot, or shot period, because I got the muzzle brake on there, but then I have the brake is attached to a threaded full choke for it, so it's set up for shot. I don't have it where I right now set up for using slugs in it.
Oh, nice! I just got a UTG mount. AK mount for it. So I'm going to go ahead and fool around with that.
Yeah, another nice thing is with the Vepr 12, it's got the crank style dust cover, and it's railed. The dust cover itself has the rail on top of it. And then it has crank style sights too. Well, it's crank style front sight, but it has an RQK rear sight, so you can adjust your windage and elevation from the rear.
Yeah, these sights are just terrible.
Like I said, I'd get my Vepr to show you, but I don't want to get yelled at by the wife right now. Yeah, those are. I was never a fan of the Saiga style sights.
So it was pretty hard to hit, but once I figured out where they were going, I was destroying pumpkins with this. That was that was the fun thing. I've never got to shoot anything with 12 gauge, and I was just, I mean, the target loads didn't do really anything, but the buckshot, the double-aught buck, and the slugs were just ripping pumpkins to pieces. And no, I was rapid fire. No one was telling me not to, so I just kept doing it.
Did you see the video I did with this? The short little video, what I did to that target with this?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. I would get one of those myself, but yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Someday I'll move out though, and I will be free.
The second target I shot that same day was worse. The head was gone.
I was shooting at a pumpkin, and you can't see it, I don't think, in the video that I took, but I was just like, boom, boom. I loaded the 5-rounder up, like boom, 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 and the head just went flying off. Like the pumpkin just cut right in half. I was like, holy shit. I don't know if David was talking about that earlier about like, damage and using apples. I mean, I shot a 44 Magnum right before that at pumpkins, and I was like, oh wow, put a pretty big hole in it. Oh wow, another big hole. And then the shotgun just ruined the pumpkins.
Yeah, that was awesome.
If you were especially if you were using a 12 gauge slug is bigger in diameter, if I remember correctly, than a 50 caliber bullet is. So I mean, you're gonna put a pretty big hole in something with one of those.
Let me see. I brought one of the. We dug one of the slugs out of the tree that we were shooting. It was a dead tree laying on the ground. And oh, here it is. And I picked up one of the slugs that flattened out real good. So let me turn my camera on.
You know, he's doing that. Yesterday we were at the range. I shot out the whole entire torso with this thing. So don't.
Damn.
Yeah.
See, it flattened out pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty flattened.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. So we picked it up and brought it home with us.
Yeah, you don't want to be on the opposite end of a slug.
Well, hey, that's kind of the reason why I bought this. Is everybody's always, we need this or that. We need some, we need ARs for home defense. And it's kind of like, I don't know, shotgun will tear someone to pieces, man. And have you ever seen those videos online where people in Brazil or in, not very good places get shot at? A lot of guns.
The problem with a shotgun is it'll go through the walls of your house. An AR-15 generally won't.
Let me tell you, these walls, I'm pretty sure there's no insulation in them. So anything through any of these walls, and there's a house in like every single direction or an apartment in every direction. There is no clear, because I live like in, old timey Beverly, Massachusetts. So yeah, this is where the people, the Salem witch trials.
Mm-hmm.
The people were from Beverly, I'm pretty sure. They used to be called like Salem Village or something, but they changed the name for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Or no, maybe Danvers was Salem Village. I don't know. Either way, I'm pretty sure the people were from Beverly. So it's right over across the river from Salem.
Well, yeah, the trials didn't just take place in Salem. They were all over the place.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. So it's like super old timey, where they used to just build houses fucking everywhere. The roads.
And another little interesting fact about the witch trials: they didn't end until the 1800s.
Oh, that's hilarious.
The last one was in the 1800s.
And the guy,
and it wasn't just in Massachusetts.
The guy who was one of the judges, like, has like a hotel named after him in downtown Salem. So.
Yeah, people think that they ended way back in the 1600s. They didn't.
Hey, did you ever see the video where the guy took a Vepr, or I forget what he said it was, and he turned it into a crink?
Oh yeah, I thought about doing that with mine, but it costs so much money to do it.
I was thinking about turning this into an SBS, but I'd just be worried the gas system would get screwed up by not having the longer barrel.
Yeah, that you got to, if you're going to have that done to one of the, to either a Vepr or a Saiga or one of the knockoff Saigas like what you have, you got to send it to somebody who knows what they're doing. because they got to get the gas ports right and everything.
Because if the gas is wrong, then I now have a junk gun, and I would.
Yep.
But I would
You
love.
can't, it's not like with an AR. You just can't go buy a new barrel, you know.
Yeah, I would love to do something. I would love to, if I could get it down, because right now it's what 18.1 inches or something.
Yeah, it's got a shotgun's got to be 18 inches.
Yeah, they add a little extra because they're worried if the guy measures it differently or some shit. But
Right.
I would love to kick it down to like 12 inches or something. I don't even know if that would work. Yeah, it would probably work. Make it a little more wieldy.
Yeah, I thought about getting my Vepr cut down to like 14.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, same size as this, but then would have the brake on the end. So it'd probably be more around 16-inch mark with the brake that I have on there.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't mess with the gas system as much.
Yeah, I picked up the slot hole brake. The slots are all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
I picked up that brake. Try that one out. I wanted to get one of the other brakes, but I don't need to add more weight to this gun. This gun is very heavy. It's not
I
real.
have one of the bone steel brakes on mine. Vepr.
This, I think this is an aluminum brake, so we'll see how.
All right, gentlemen, I've got to go off to Sleepy Land. I got to get up early and work.
Yeah, I think it's time we call this a night too. What were you gonna say before we do, Jared?
Oh no, I gotta go too, man. I gotta be up real early.
Yeah.
I've just been.
Yeah, I thought you were getting ready to say something else, but okay.
All right, gentlemen, have a good night.
Yep, you too, David. And
See ya.
Anybody who's still out there watching, it says we still have one viewer. I don't know, but everybody out there, because we said everybody else probably left because we said we were closing it down how long ago, and we just kept on going.
Yep.
Not as bad as Gun Snob earlier though, where he said it like 7 times that he was closing his show out earlier, and he kept going. But yeah, this is only the second time for us, but we are definitely closing it down this time. So I want to thank everybody for viewing, and be sure to tune in next week, same time, same channel. Later, everybody.